Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of By the Numbers. It's been a while. I'm your host, Richard Lewis, and joining me as he always does, fresh into the employment pool. It is, of course, Duncan Thurn-Shields, the esports historian. Sam Bainlaw Davis pressing the buttons. I feel like I haven't talked to you in about a week either, honestly, Sam.
I know, yeah. We've had a few messages back and forth, but not with voice.
Yeah, I've just been, I've been busy, been working on a few things, been back in the weeds on stories. It's just we didn't do the show when I said we were going to do the show, because if we'd done the show on the Sunday or the Monday that we'd originally planned to do it, I think I would have fucking gone nuts and probably ended the show.
Over what?
Because, listen, I've had an epiphany these last few days. Like, you know, we've been fighting to kind of make esports a better place for a long time, and
that ship has sailed. I can see where you're going. Yeah, that one's sailed. Yeah, we took the shark on it.
Yeah, but sometimes we fall short of our own lofty aspirations. Probably at times. You wonder, did we pick the right side in that argument? Should I have done this? Should I have done that? Whatever. But, I'm somebody that's capable of introspection and self-awareness. Unfortunately, what's happened is the esports industry's got big and big. It's like everything. Once it's a certain size, you cannot keep the morons out.
Yes.
You
can't.
Like
a critical mass they're hitting it, and then they're just it's like zombies at that point. There's unlimited supply.
And unfortunately, what I've realized is, especially with Valorant, where the average fan sort of seems to be 15, 16.
They do seem to have more of the COD sort of type of fan, I noticed, rather than the CS fan in that sense,
Yeah, but at least with Call of Duty, there's there's a multiple generation of fans that have grown up. There's still morons. I mean, I saw it when you were having your back and forth recently on Twitter, and there was people going to you, shut the fuck up, boomer. And then when Hex was like, well, he's all right, they go, no, he's just a boomer, Hex. Hex is older than Duncan, so you're inadvertently insulting him, you fucking. But they don't get it.
No.
They just classify people in their very simplistic, sub 80 IQ
Dude,
way.
the one I couldn't handle was when people like J Cap were essentially implying I'm a boomer. You're 26! By your own fucking logic, should we just go and meet the same 14-year-olds who were saying boomer, mate? Because I'm going to give you bad news. You ain't made the cut-off. That cut-off's 22 or something mad. The whole point of that premise is they've made it ridiculous with hyperbole, haven't they?
So, forget all that, right? But I mean, just overall, with everything that's been going on with Valorant lately and how there's been, lots of movement and whatnot, and we'll talk about some of that, obviously, on the show. But it's just there is a new... there is a new wave of moron, super morons. It's almost analogous to what's going on with the pandemic. You think you got COVID licked? Don't worry, there's a Brazilian strain. It's going to kill you all. It's like that. And it's there's a new strain of moron. I thought the Overwatch fans, at least the Overwatch fan, to be that delusional, you have to have a level of intelligence. To be as delusional as the average Overwatch fan who's jerking off the fucking feet and is terrified of the internet, you at least have to be sort of capable of reading and, to be gaslit by the media, you have to be able to engage with media. The Valorant fans are just they've got big mouths, shit for brains, and they're all teenagers.
Do you think they're all people? It's their first esport. Do they seem like they came from any of that?
It's League of Legends too,
right?
And so basically, for the first 4 years of its existence, that scene will be absolutely intolerable.
No doubt.
And you can see the pros leaning into it with their tragic. A commentator said because I was bottom fragging, I played bad. Why won't somebody stop them? And it's mate, you're getting paid thousands of fucking dollars, and a commentator's pointing out you had a shit game and they know that's part of the game, but they're leveraging these kids. That's what they're doing because it's going to validate them and make them feel good, and it's just fucking pathetic. And what makes it worse is half of these cunts are ex-CS players, and you would have been fucking tortured if you'd even fucking said this. You would have been absolutely hung out to fucking dry. You would have got it 10 times worse. But because they're now moving over to Babby's first FPS, they're leveraging. So basically, after the Ethan thing, which was all predicated on once again, my pet peeve used to be people saying you're not professional. Now it's just people not being able to read. Twitter is not the medium for you if you cannot read. It requires reading. And what people do is, it's they don't even skim read. Skim read implies you read
Yes.
1, 2, 3 words, miss out a few, but you get the overall.
They just skip and go to the trigger word, don't they?
Yeah,
they go Pavlovian to whatever the word is.
They pull in on one word and then imagine,
totally.
what it said.
Yeah.
And that's basically what Twitter's, become a medium for. So if we'd ended up doing the show, then I'd have just been like, because like Ethan is an absolute.
Oh, now I remember. Yeah. There's so much stuff's going by. I forgot that whole drama where essentially your point was totally on point. And also, by the way, do you want to get into that very briefly? The whole Ethan thing and Valorant.
Well, I'll do the ad reads.
Right.
I'll do the ad reads.
Let's do it.
So yeah, obviously .com super proud to sponsor this episode, no doubt. This will be the night of the fucking long tweets. There's going to be some shit said this episode, I'll tell you that for free. I've brought material. I've got some scores to settle. Smoothie, you little rat. You're still telling lies, buddy.
He's coming. It's not Smoothie again on the menu. Fucking hell.
Oh, mate. Like, no, because this delusional cunt's still out there tweeting absolute provable lies. So, all right. DMs are coming out, homie. So, hope you...
not the DMs. Shit.
Oh, yeah. Right. Let's actually stop you, a delusional fucking chav. Let's stop you writing history and let's have someone with, a brain actually lay down some little facts. So that's coming later on. But anyway, .com/RLS, super proud to sponsor this episode, no doubt. And of course, NordVPN, go to nordvpn.com/RLS to get yourself 70% off. So, all right, you want to start with the Ethan thing?
Let's do it.
Let's jump in there. So the news, of course, is Ethan has left Evil Geniuses. You'll recall many times on the show, we said the EG have been playing particularly poorly. This was like kind of a last roll of the dice. I mean, they came into 2021 with rumors circulating around that maybe the org was going to drop the team. Yes. And if you remember, they put out a statement and everyone went, oh, well, how reassuring. But no, the statement, once again, you can't read. Yes. You're an esports fan. You're a moron, so you can't read. Here's what the statement actually said. It said, we're looking forward to competing again in 2021. Didn't say we'll stick around for the full year. Yes. Didn't say we wouldn't be dropping our CS team. It was
almost nothing. They intentionally did that thing that politicians do, where they almost say what you want them to say without actually committing to it, didn't they?
Yeah. So basically, like, they brought in Zeus, they got Stan, they got all this shit going on. They decamped to Europe so they can get to all these events. They got these blast commitments, of which they had like one half decent run where they made it to the final before Complexity wrecked them 2-0. And, they did all right. But ultimately, their entire time in Europe, which spanned, they had a 40, 50 day, period where they were just boot camping. And then we had them meeting their blast commitments. They didn't really look any further forward as a team. In fact, all of their performances has gone off a cliff. And so it was a matter of time. It was just who was going to go. And I'll give some additional context behind the scenes. Since it's these American players, they're just edging all the time with me. I don't get it. Like, why would you do know, right? Like, I have just come fresh, by the way, from literally being in the sewers, talking to all these, like, people who might have been in a match that got fixed once. So people tell me shit just in passing while we're shooting the shit while I'm looking at all this other stuff. So if you think I don't know who's been playing Valorant with who and stuff like that, by the way, like, people are telling me that, or do you want to run this story? No, not right now. I'm trying to stop tier 2 Counterstrike imploding. Actually, who gives a fuck? I'll be all right no matter what. So Ethan announces that he's gone. It's come out of nowhere. Or not nowhere if you knew what was going on behind the scenes. And he's, put out a tweet. Yeah, this is it. I'm going to Valorant now, going to be playing with 100 Thieves. And so innocuously, because that day I was super busy, and I was sort of piecing it together that, he's left and gone to Valorant. Like, what a surprise. And I saw a tweet by Hazed, and Hazed had said, it's all bloody tournament organisers' fault why us NA players are so washed up and we have to leave and go to another game. That being said, more the merrier over here. Right?
It's mad, isn't it?
So I was responding to that, which is why it was worded the way it was, which is my tweet said, if you knew how many NA pros would divide in their practice time between Valorant and CS, and I'm talking about salaried pros, and I'm talking about legitimate practice time, they should not, what you do in your spare time, because I defended Bialy when he was playing PUBG.
Yeah,
I'm talking about these players are like, listen, I got to go play with these boys tonight or whatever. And I didn't name names and I didn't say anything, but the idea that the TOs are to blame, right, and not like organizations, players themselves having no work ethic and being fucking lazy as fuck, which is an NA hallmark, right, and has been ever since, CSGO got big there. Basically, what's happening with NA now would have happened years ago if skins didn't exist.
Yes.
Because y'all think about your paper first and the sports second. And that just needs to be said as a matter of fact. There's a few people that book that trend, but not many in North America. So anyway, which is why they cry about shit like, I'm going to get up for 10 a.m. No, I'm paid $25,000 a month and I've got to get up before noon. Curse you, God!
It's like they've never even heard of the concept of danger money. Like, mate, you get the 25k just get up and play video games. Like, come on, man, come on.
Wild as fuck. So anyway,
not even at the event either. You're just in your own home.
So I've done a fairly innocuous tweet, just saying that I think it's
pretty reasonable.
I just said I don't respect them as competitors. Not that, listen, you should be thinking about your future. You should be thinking about your paper. Now in a pandemic, and especially now, you got a president that's going to bilk you for the meager $1,400 fucking dollars you should have had. Yeah, definitely think about your paper. Not that any of these cunts going to go hungry. Oh, no. I had plenty of people telling me, well, you know what? I'm sure Ethan's only one paycheck away from going broke. Are you fucking mad? Are you mad? It's not even the most piece of shit degenerate gamblers in fucking CSGO have got it that bad, because they just find another way to fucking scam you all and prop up the fucking money that they've been working on. So anyway, I said that, and then it was just Ethan replied with going, Can a man just enjoy a game in his spare time, bro? And that's that. That was that. So the floodgates are open now, because if you're a fan of Ethan, obviously you have to be dumber than Ethan to look up to Ethan. And Ethan is an absolute cretin who can't even read properly at 21.
I mean, he was one of those people who unironically was spelling his name backwards about 5 years after that was the trend. Just doing it for years. Just go for it. Keep doing that then.
No, but and then you realise that was just him. He thought he was writing it proper the first time. So if you're a fan of Ethan and you look up to Ethan, obviously the way the hierarchical structure of man works, you're obviously a cretin, a super cretin. And so, I had super cretins basically fucking replying to this tweet going, yeah, why can't people just enjoy their game? It's like it specifically says practice. It specifically, says pros. It doesn't even name Ethan. It's not about Ethan. Yeah. I'm replying to his tweet.
You intentionally didn't put him in the tweet for that reason, you can tell. Yeah.
So anyway, he murked himself by even getting involved, because it speaks to a guilty conscience. But just before we get into the drama and the nonsense and my views, I'll bring you in. Obviously, Ethan going out and going to Valorant. You're probably not surprised that's something gave finally in the EG lineup.
No. I mean, I'd heard, potentially, like you said, I know last year, one of the reasons I was pissed off with some of the Flashpoint people is that, in theory, that EG lineup was potentially available at one point in time when they were actually a good team. I'd also heard with this team, I mean, it makes sense. Remember, they were on the brink of a roster move when they brought Zeus in and turned it around. Yeah. So if you go right back to Death's Door again, not necessarily directly, but we mean in the sense of you're supposed to be a world beater if you're this team. Yeah, eventually someone has to give. Someone has to go from the lineup. I wouldn't necessarily have picked it to be Ethan, because actually he's a pretty young player in the team. I still thought he was on his career journey. He's probably a couple of years from getting to his peak still. So I personally thought it would have been one of, like Cirque or Breeze or someone. Maybe one of those guys just can't handle it. Or maybe one of them wants to go to Valorant. Who the fuck knows, right? So to me, I thought it was mildly surprising in the sense that, I'm put it this way, I am surprised when anyone who's a top player goes over to Valorant. I get why the ones who never made it go are the ones who never were going to make it back again go. It makes perfect sense. Like when I see all the stuff on Twitter where Hiko's some big deal of that, I love that shit, because obviously he's never going to make it in CS again. But when the people who actually in theory, the career story of Ethan, I personally think he's somewhat plateaued. Even though he's young, he'd played a lot of years at the pro level. I personally think he was as good as he was going to be. And by the way, that's still a tier 1 pro, and at times he could be good. But I never personally saw him as this guy, he's going to be an amazing player. But I know a lot of people did. So all those supporters of his, people like my boy Moses, who've always bigged him up on broadcasts, He's never going to get you a chance to even scratch the surface of what you guys thought was possible. You thought a couple of years down the line is when he maxes out and shows all that potential. Because obviously his aim was pretty nice in the game. But I personally thought he was one of those players where he just was a bit streaky and people they just roared when he was on his high and talked about him. And then because they like him as a person, he's not a shit talker usually. They just didn't talk about him when he did badly. And he sort of got a little bit of, I always thought he was a little bit pampered in the NA scene, quite frankly. I've always said being 17, 18, 19 in NA grants you a mad sort of like leeway that you don't get if you're like Nico, Simple, these guys in Europe. You just expect it to be the best in Europe. There's no excuse. Like, well, wait 3 years. Like, no, you have to be good now. So personally, I don't think it's that big a loss that he left the scene overall. Like, in my opinion, leaving this team, it's probably going to go to a team slightly worse. So fair enough. There's not many teams left in NA you can play for. On the other side, though, the thing I did find mega egregious is I don't follow every player's career story. I'm generally watching the teams and I try and remember things from like, oh, what sort of pattern did he seem like he's going to rise? Or what? I'm that guy who like mercilessly tracks the stats. But I knew just from the games I'd been watching the last 3 months, Ethan is in a fucking slump. So to me, the real part of this story I found outrageous is the idea, as you said, he's going to passive aggressively try to imply like, what? I didn't do nothing. I was just playing on the side foot. What can't I have fun? It's like, not if you shit in the game they pay you the 20 grand for, dickhead. Like, what's the 20 grand for? Like, in this scenario, this is where pro players will always show they are not only shameless, but narcissists. It's like when Fallen decided to publicly, on that blast thing, take Semler to town, because Semler said, obviously, you know, your guy's heart isn't in it. You're not hungry anymore. And he's like, what are you talking about, bro? You do not know how we are practicing. Right? And we are giving our lives for this. And just because I have businesses, I'm trying my hardest. And how did I slam him in half a fucking sentence? I just said, why you shit? And he had nothing to say because he had never fucking thought. It's like I say about Nico. They give a shit lie and don't even think, right, well, obviously, for this lie to be real, I'd have to actually assume it was reality. So let me just apply it to my worldview and see if it makes sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. Because in this scenario, Ethan, if you were practicing the game hard in CSGO and you weren't just low-key practicing Valorant, and I'm going to guess Richard probably knows that you were fucking behind the scenes, playing scrims or in-houses or some shit like that. You probably weren't just playing it in solo queue or whatever. So imagine you were, right? If that's the case, right, that you weren't doing any of that stuff, you just play it for fun after CSGO, then you are shit at CSGO, get the fuck out, good riddance, nobody's going to miss you. See ya, there you go. Is that how you want to leave the game? Because there's one way or the other, mate. Either I believe you, in which case you shit, get the fuck out the door, won't cry 1 second for you, or you actually were practicing Valorant as well, in which case we could have an interesting, nuanced discussion, like the one that Richard tried to start, without even name-checking you, daft gun. He didn't even name check you.
I've given you the tweet, Sam. You can see the exchange that I give to. And what's mad is the guy agrees with me. He
just not about himself.
Yeah, he says if you're grinding Valorant because you want to switch, you should definitely get out of CSGO because you don't deserve to compete at the level you're getting paid to play at. So I said, well, why are you arguing about my tweet? And he says, like, oh, you know, like, it seems as if you're 100% sure these pros are practicing the game so they have an out instead of just enjoying it in their free time. Again, alluding to himself. And then he even said, oh, and it must be a coincidence you tweeted it today. Yeah, I'm more interested in his broader talk about the industry, not the matters of fucking Ethan, another dog shit fucking drifter who I'm not even going to remember who you were in 5 fucking years, mate. I'm not going to remember who you are in 5 years. Let's not pretend you've laid down any legacy, right? That EG team could have been great, right? But because of you fucking bums, right? Like, it with just no pride in what you do, it wasn't, right? And it's all falling apart. And it was, let me tell you, behind the scenes, there was talk about Stan and Tarek maybe jumping across and getting involved in Valorant. Something that still might happen, by the way. I know they've picked up Obo, which we'll get to. Like, let's just say all those guys are thinking about over an EG now themselves, not their obligation to the org, not their obligation to the fans, not their obligation to each other, not their obligation to the sport. They couldn't give a fuck about any of that, right? So when I say I don't respect you as competitors, I did the decency of not naming you. But yeah, I'm talking about you. I'm talking about you cunts who had 40, 50 fucking days in Europe to come up and actually look like a half-decent team. And you're just so fucking lethargic, you couldn't even be bothered. So go read all of that. By the way, I told him, that, you know, he shouldn't, narcissism isn't a good like a personality trait, so don't cultivate it. And then some guy replied saying the irony in this tweet is mind-blowing, and I recognized the name and I couldn't figure out who the fuck it was. And you want to blast from the past on this fucking cunt. This is one of the most washed up motherfuckers I like in all of esports. The absolute tragedy. The guy
fuck, it's the flip side guy. Yeah,
the guy you found
this guy was always a
Flipside.
twat. This guy was a twat from day one.
Oh, I know. Right. The guy you thought, like, the guy you, by the way, used to fucking slide my DM, oh, what a sort, and tell me how to fucking reinvent the fucking wheel and all that, right? Founder of Flipside. Mate, in how many years he's gone from fucking being a CEO of an org and a creator of a tech company that's Stats Helix, right, to being a coach on a Valorant team. Your trajectory, mate, there's fucking homeless people who would fucking give up their box for you, Hector, you fucking sad cunt.
He's got less
and
potential than that homeless guy with the fucking golden voice.
Yeah, it's absolutely outrageous, mate. I've never seen a more pathetic, depressing trajectory than your life. And by the way, you've been in esports all this time, and you're associated with 100 Thieves, and you even founded a team, Flipside, and you have 1,800 followers on fucking Twitter, and you just sit there tweet all day, and you're talking about narcissism as well. When you've got all your fucking, you made yourself CEO when you founded the fucking thing, mate. It's unreal. Like, I just couldn't even believe it. These are the bottom feeders that are in Valorant right now. These are the bottom feeders who are in Valorant. It is like someone just basically took a shit in a fish tank and left it for 2 years and come back just to see what life had fucking spawned in it. And that's Valorant. Basically, all the scum, all the fucking scum and the grifters and the liars and the fucking thieves, they've all gone to Valorant, right? That's your scene, by the way, Riot. That's what you're allowing to happen. No one's checking these cunts on the door. There's no fucking doorman or nothing. There's no investigative journalists keeping these out and exposing their bullshit. There's no iconoclastic figures with podcasts over there. You're not even allowed to say the players are bad. Yeah, good luck. They're already fixing matches in Valorant, by the way, in Tier 2. They've already got a problem over there. Your scene is already a cancerous fucking joke. So that's before you let cunts like this in. He's associated with 100 Thieves, by the way. Let's have a little bet. I'll say it on the podcast. If he's still there by the end of the year, drinks all round, homies, because this guy's a fucking bum. There's no way Nadeshot's going to think that this weird, creepy old fuck who's just been in esports forever, just creating his own career, he's not going to be allowed to coach those players. He's not influencer fucking material, is he? He's not going to sell you a jersey. So,
by the way, I'll tell you right now, his career trajectory, this is the ultimate iniquity, because I even like this particular person now. He's all right. He turned the corner. This reminds me of when GB James came into CSGO. You remember when he rocked up?
Like, oh, yeah.
All right, lads. I used to
guess who's back.
I know. I remember Team Liquid
again.
Naively made James the coach of Team Liquid immediately when they just bought the team, because obviously they were from StarCraft and League of Legends. They knew nothing about CS, and it was the same thing. They just got some old boomer who seemed like he knew something. Like, oh, here's your coach. He used to do something, and even the players were like, why the fuck's he our coach? Like, this just reminds me of the same thing. In fact, I'll tell everyone a very quick story, because as I say, I actually like James now. Like, you know what? He's one of those guys where he realised after enough confrontations, like,
but even this cunt, he's gone to Valorant. He's over at that fucking Pittsburgh Knights or whatever, right? And he got in touch with me the other day because he wanted to fucking talk about some shit. But I'll just tell you, he caused the fucking palaver over there when he just disqualified that kid for no reason because they wanted Ninja's team to get through in the cup. You know, it's like these people never learn. They just they're incapable of learning. It's like, it's not even fair. I have to interact with them anymore at this point. It's like, guys, like, you're gonna put me in an early grave. It's like I'm in a fucking zoo. You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't be like this. I should be on the outside of the cage. I'm the one with the brain. I should be on the outside, but I'm not. I've got these morons like, I've just disqualified someone from like, can I, like, mate, why are they letting you run things, you fucking absolute buffoon? Anyway, tell your
here's
story.
The anecdote, because this is a ridiculous one. Basically, back in the day when this Team Liquid squad first had him, and it was when they were, I think it's when they maybe just got simple as well, because they had like my boy Hiko and a couple of other people. Obviously, they had Liege, Nitro, everyone. You remember the team everyone loved back in the day?
Of course, yeah.
So when they had GB James as a coach, right, because me and James both are from the very beginning of CS like 1.6. I think he was right there in the early days of Cal. I don't think he was right in the betas, but I know he was like quite early on. We're talking like 2002 or something, you know. So he thought to himself, like a lot of people back then, when they've never gone head to head, like, well, I'm from the old school too. I know as much as you do. So basically, because I decided, like, fuck this cunt. Obviously, he knows nothing, does he? I was just roasting him, right? But I was doing it in a friendly way, and he tried to sort of like start going back and forth. Like, you don't really know my career, do you, right? And then he was doing stuff where he was just saying mad shit, like, because in 2003, I bought this guy into the team. I was like, actually, you did that in 2004. You got your timeline completely wrong, and he was in a different team before. And then he'd be going, yeah, but then also after that in 2005, and he just kept going and like, right. And every time I was just checking him, like, well, that's not correct. Or is it because Cal Invite actually, you know, after that many seasons, mainly Sevo was coming along, wasn't it? He was going, and every time I was just stumping him on his own life, like factual details. And the best part is during all of this, fucking Nazgul, who's like one of the owners of Team Liquid, obviously his boss, saw like, what the fuck, Thorin? I thought he doesn't like our org. Saw me talking with his coach. So he came and he just sat like right between the two of us behind us, right? And GB James, while this is going on, he's just like nervously looking up like, and then after I've like roasted him for about the 10th time, and every time he's just missing, like, dude, it was like one of those old duels, and he's just like missing, and he has to stand there while my second just like loads my gun, and I'm like just shooting him in his face every time. And the best part is, at one point during this, I'm just doing it by the way for the benefit like me and Eco, just fucking roasting him. But the best part is, at one point after it's gotten really embarrassing, he just turns to his boss Nazgul and just goes like, "Can I have a quick word with you?" And then they just go right. They go and they walk about 10 meters behind us, and you can just hear him going like, "Look, everything he's saying, it's not actually accurate." Like, because he realised without me saying a single word, he's just basically done like an anti-job interview, hasn't he? He's like, it's like he's talked himself out of his own job by not even being competent enough to remember his own life and career. Like, so. Mate, that's enough said about grifters. There you go. That's it. He did turn the corner somewhat. I said, apparently, Richard. He did it was a full third circle eventually. He did full 360. I
had a similar thing with that fucking, you know, that Robbie Ringnaldo or whatever his fucking name was, the cunt who ran. What was it called? That shit org he used to run. Someone will know in the fucking chat. Denial. Yeah. Denial. So.
Was he the one who was like, "I am 6'4" and fully tatted up"?
No. That was the fella he come in who was helping him fund.
The fact that there's that many of these people is already ridiculous, isn't it? Like, you can't, I'm fully tatted up.
Mate, this is a fucking scene and a half. This is when I was at fucking E-League.
Yes.
So I got called up out of the blue after we'd done a show, and someone said, "Do you want to come to an after party? It's like unlimited drinks. We've got this hotel booked. Everyone would love to meet you, you know." I'm like, all right, fuck it then. Yeah, I'm going to do it this one time because I haven't got work tomorrow. I don't have to come in and record nothing. Let's go get fucked up. So I went to this hotel and all the Denial guys were there, and Robbie Ringnaldo was there. We were all sat round. It was all after that. They'd even hired a little private part of the hotel, all cordoned off away, bottles fucking flying away. We're getting fucking trolleyed. And anyway, Robbie's one of them guys who it's like, I don't know, if I was just full of shit, if I was an habitual liar, the last thing you want to be doing is fucking occupy the centre, sit on the sides, enjoy the show. Don't make it about you, because you never know who's going to pull your card, right? So this cunt, right, keep in mind all the stuff that's been going on with Denial. He is sat there just telling everyone, yeah, well, when I competed in CGS in season 1, you know, we nearly won. I could have been up there. And he was doing all of that. I was going, you weren't at CGS, mate. And he like, look.
Oh, was he claiming he was in Source?
Yeah, he was trying to make out he played in the fucking CGS. And I was like, brother, you bought... I know everyone who was at CGS. He went, well, I mean, no, but I went to that qualifier, didn't I, Rich? And he was trying to, like, win me over. He was trying to, like, win me over to the line. And I'm going, no, mate, you didn't. Like, you never did. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, you mad cunt? And it got so embarrassing because he was trying to fight down the line. Somebody literally said, mate, you're drunk and embarrassing yourself. And just took him the fuck away. That was the end of his night. I've never seen him since. That cunt's selling dog biscuits for a living now instead of paying his players.
So he's been fucking Biden, like, all right, Joe, time for bed.
Yeah, it was. He was fully Biden. He got fully Biden. Like a handler just came. You're embarrassing yourself. Just took him away. I will now answer any questions. Stream's dead. Stream's gone. So, yeah, he did, and that was the last time I saw him. Like I say, next thing I knew, he'd left Esports altogether, and he's got a dog biscuit business, where what he does is he goes to prove it's no joke, man. Motherfucker selling dog biscuits, homie. I turned him into a dog biscuit salesman. I fucked him up that bad. Motherfucker selling biscuits.
He's probably still at conventions. Yeah, this time I was in CGS. We're almost in the final. Like,
It's
finally, I've got a safe crowd. Does anyone know about that?
It's not like some street slang from fucking, Cruzeiro.
He's selling dog biscuits for
Yeah,
me.
it's not that. Like, he's legit. He runs a business now where his model is because he's a fucking scam artist from esports. He's figured out a fucking scam in the real world, hasn't he? So what he does is he goes to breweries and he says, "Oh, you know all them hops and all that you're throwing out that you don't need anymore? I'll have them." So they go, "Oh yeah, no bother. You're helping us by getting rid of it." And then he turns them into dog treats.
Thing is, though, people will
them.
laugh, right? And they'll think it's an easy job. But I've heard that fucking business is rough.
Gross.
That's about as shit as your crack. Aimed at them COD motherfuckers, mate. Gross. No wonder they think you're a fucking boomer, mate. You outrageous bastard.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, fucking welcome to buy the dad jokes. Perfect. Anyway, so this is the other component to this I just want to bring up. Like, why Ethan would do this, right? Because I went and looked at the stats. Check this out, right? You can bring this up on screen, but you can have a look, right? That is his performance graph.
Yeah, it's bad, isn't it?
And you can see where he was.
Put it this way, the patient had flatlined at the time he left the game. Like, give me a break, mate.
Right? You can see where he was as we went into, like, end of October, November, to where he ended up come the end of January. Off a motherfucking cliff, right? And listen, I'm not saying he was playing Valorant all the time. Spoiler, by the way, he was sick of CS, sick of the bullshit. They all thought in EG that there's a good chance they were going to get dropped by the org and there was no future for it. And increasingly, they would just be like doing their own thing and not like just, I know this. But this is what he also said. Imagine a world, right, by the way, where first of all, people are going, Cirque's playing bad. Yeah, okay. Tarek's playing bad. These people, right? First of all, when your AWP goes AWOL in a dysfunctional team, you can almost kind of come up with narratives to craft that. Ethan was a top 20 player in the world, and he fell to this. So it's not the same, guys. It's not the same as everyone else having a tough time in EG. He's a star player. He was meant to be putting the team on his back. The only player that's still playing over there, by the way, with any self-respect is Breezy, who's still sick. So anyway, you have that, right? I mean, that's fucking problem number one. But then he also is implying that 100 Thieves, one of the biggest Valorant teams in the world, would literally sign a player on no more than, well, he was good in CS, wasn't he?
Makes no sense at all, does it? Yeah.
Impugning the entire organization, impugning his now employer Nadeshot, impugning the whole esport he is now a part of. You can just be good in CS and be good in Valorant. Turns out, absolutely fucking true, embarrassingly. So, like, I don't even know why this motherfucker would stick his head up. Like, just fucking...
I know.
Like,
Take one L for that, for fuck's sake.
Just go graciously, mate. Like, just go graciously. The tweet didn't have to be about you. But like I say, all of these motherfuckers that are moving to Valorant now early, they think they're gonna be kings. They think they're gonna be beyond kings. They think they're gonna be fucking pharaohs. And let me just tell you, you guys don't understand. You think you're gonna be the greats. You have a year, 2 years tops of actually being relevant before kids who've been brought up on nothing more than Valorant, or maybe people jumping across from Fortnite, who, by the way, their fucking actions per minute are like nothing you've ever seen if you're coming from CS. They're building buildings while popping your head off them Zoomers. When they start getting a hold of Valorant, you're all gone. What, you think you fucking 34-year-olds are still going to be hanging in 2 years? You're out of your motherfucking minds. So just enjoy it while it lasts, you fucking absolute waste of oxygen. Like, it's ridiculous. So, I liked Ethan and I like the CG team, but enough's enough, man. Like, you've gone out there with zero respect for the sport, zero respect for your new home. Why not just say this is the Great Paycheck Tour and just have done with it? What an absolute plum.
Yeah, that's the part that actually no one thinks about with any of these moves, which is exactly what you've just said. It's the same with Daps. So we're supposed to believe Daps was a professional player for Gen G, and then ... Now he's just professionally on a team in Valorant immediately. Like, if you hadn't been playing the game on a professional level and practicing professionally, you wouldn't just get straight in the team, would you? Like, remember, even the other CSGO pros that are in those teams aren't just bringing you over when you've never played the game before. Like, they're not going to risk their fucking new paycheck so that you can come in. So I'm sorry, if you're Nitro, you're Ethan, you're Daps, you're any of these players, you definitely were playing some level of Valorant. And I would personally suspect, pure speculation on my behalf, it's probably behind the scenes you were probably playing those pickups right after you finish your scrims. So, like, it just beggars belief, because as Richard says, you're basically actually stupidly implying that the game you're going to is so shit and desperate for talent that they pick people just off the street who are like, used to play CS, will play Valorant for food. Like, that doesn't even make sense as a premise, does it? Like, especially, here's the thing, right? You're leaving CSGO. Why does it matter to end with a lie and try and look good in a space by your own admission you do not plan to be a part of again? You are going to a new space where also the implication, by the way, is that you really want to be a Valorant pro. Here's the problem, Richard. In my opinion, the reason they really do this is something in them tells them Valorant might not be the permanent future and they might have to come back one day. So they want to sort of like control the way they leave the game so they can control how they come back.
Man, let me just tell you what
they don't want it to be that when they go and come back, people are like, didn't you just leave the game and abandon it for that? I think that's what they're scared of, you know.
Tens is the ultimate American esports professional in the eyes of all of these cunts, all of these people who it's just a lack of self-respect. It's a lack of self-respect. That's what it all boils down to. Like, basically, Tens, right? Tens is a guy who didn't even have a CS career. Yep. He was in a team, he was out of a team, he was on a bench, he was off to Valorant. Yeah. He went over to Valorant. By all accounts, everyone was raving about Tens, and he's one of the best talents in NA, great prospect. He just bailed on that almost immediately. As soon as he saw his streaming numbers were past 10,000 every time he turned on his fucking stream, he was like, well, I'm just going to do this. And that's what they all want. It's got fuck all to do with excellence. You don't even know if Riot's going to have a league. You're playing in all these, Masters tournaments and all of this. Viewership's been up, it's been down. There's all sorts of questions about the formats. Europe getting bilked to a best of ones, while North America is like all in Riot thing, in all things Riot. They're getting preferential treatment. You know, Brazil, a country, not a region, lest we forget. You get 2 teams. There's no rhyme or reason for it. A bigger landmass. Europe, they only get 2 teams. It's a fucking farce. So it's got a long way to go before it even has like an infrastructure you can fucking call a legitimate esport. But these guys don't give a fuck about that. They have literally they're thinking, become a streamer, become a streamer, become a streamer. Maybe I get to be a salaried player for a little bit in this game. It doesn't matter. They are heading down the influencer route. That's all they give a fuck about. And it's like, listen, don't bring that shit to CS. I think we're going to have long-term problems without North America, even though North America, historically, it's never been a big player base, but it's the big marketing budget in esports. So it's definitely a stronger scene with them in it. But I've never felt that these guys, it was like, on the one hand, you have the CLGs and the Splices and all them at one end who just pick up shit players endlessly until they go bust and then go, yeah, you just can't make money in CS. And it's like, yeah, not when you're incompetent. No, you can't. And then you have these people at the top. And these guys had a golden ticket. Evil Geniuses, legendary brand, a legendary Counterstrike brand. And you're representing that brand, right? And you're doing it and you've got one eye on a fucking cartoon fucking shooter. Because you know you can go there anytime. And here's the best bit, right? I'll have to get you the tweet to bring it up. There it is. I even archived it, lest he deleted it. But this is how much of a fucking... This is only last summer, by the way, Sam. He literally tweeted out, I give Valorant a try every time they add something new. And every single time I leave, never wanting to play it again. You know, a pro Valorant player less than fucking 12 months later. You absolute clown. Don't talk to me about values and principles and how you actually like the sport and all it. Like, mate, you're just a fucking grifter, classic North American esports competitor. Money first, stream first, fame and adoration first, and excellence way, way, way down the pecking order. It's why Europe's always had your fucking eyes out, frankly. So, yeah, that was the Ethan drama. Where do you want to go next? Flashpoint drama?
Yeah,
you want to get into that? Because I feel like I've been doing a lot of talking. I reckon you'll be doing most of the talking on this.
That's right. There we go. Coming straight out of Flashpoint. Crazy motherfucking name foreign.
Yeah, again, all the boomer references are happening tonight. Dog jokes, dad jokes, NWA. Right, so For those who don't know and haven't watched Thorin's extensive 1 hour and 6 minute long video, which I obviously watched on the day it was released, although knew most of it anyway. But you know, it's the way you tell them, Duncan. It's not.
Of course. It is. Yeah. And people don't realise, by the way, if I really wanted to like milk that drama, mate, there's about 7 different fucking angles I got to take. Even if people didn't notice, low key just basically drop like fucking gems about Astralis and stuff, just willy nilly within my fucking like narrative. So like, if people don't know, that video basically like that's the Bible of what happened in Flash. It's just like all the stories pretty much. I did a pretty good job of like telling like the order of it, etc. Because I have to sort of dodge around like this is in this tournament, this words. But I tried to make it pretty concise so that people could go to the different sections and stuff. But put it this way, I'll tell people right now, there's not a single person in this world knew that video, aside from like my video editors, etc., knew that video was coming out. Like Flashpoint just was aware like a couple of days ago that I'm leaving. That's it. They never had any imagination they were going to wake up and see a video where I just basically say about all the things you can say without, you know, literally revealing things in confidence.
So yes, Duncan was the creative director over at Flashpoint. Flashpoint was another one of these startup league projects where it had various members from Face It. It had some people from Cloud9 and the Immortals group, if I remember rightly, as well. And these people will, and Monty was involved, one of the other horsemen. And basically, they were looking to create a sort of hermetically sealed league where the teams came in, they were all partners, and if you came into Flashpoint, you know, there was revenue shares, they made money. When it was all laid out financially, it was a better deal for the players, well, certainly for the teams. It should trickle down to the players in theory, than the ESL with their famous Louvre agreement that they put out there. And so a lot of people were watching this with interest. But Flashpoint, if we're being honest about it, and now we can be, well, not that we ever weren't, but we can do a complete post-mortem now. You know, it struggled. It had problems. It never got the big teams. The
it's a non-starter because, like, let's face it, if you do not have good enough teams, there's no you aren't in the same game as ESL Cologne or whatever, right? You just aren't. You know, people come for at the end of the day, it is a sport where we watch the players in the game. You can have the best broadcast ever. If you have tier 2 teams, it'll never be the best tournament. It's impossible.
Yeah, and this is a concept I think a lot of people don't understand, because obviously in the aftermath, you know, of Thorin leaving, people going, oh, well, the people watch now, the bad man's gone.
That's going to be the best take of all time. Bearing in mind, by the way, I would say, without blowing my own horn, because listen, for Flashpoint 2, I'll certainly say teams like Virtus Pro, even MIBR, Fnatic OG, they obviously played a massive role in the event being successful. But I will just say, one of the few actual fucking refrains about Flashpoint was people would say, I actually can enjoy some of it, even if the teams aren't that good, because of the tone of the broadcast. So, yeah, the notion that it's going to like improve now without me, you know what? We'll see, shall we? We'll just have to wait and see for that one. I would suspect not, though. Bearing in mind, I was essentially the heart and soul of the entire project, but okay.
I mean, you know, this is, you know, like there's a truth here, right? So it's sort of like when it comes to on-air talent, it's almost like one-way traffic. You can get more viewers by having like big announcements of certain people being assigned to a project. Like, you know, for example, if, you know, oh, Monte Cristo's doing a CS event. That's interesting. He's got a big following. Some people
for sure.
Exactly. Some people who follow his work in other areas might be tempted to see how he gets on in CS. Or, you know, it's been a year since the last event Sadakis casted. You know, he did the bot major for us. I'm not going to count that on his resume.
Oh, of course not.
It was great though, straight fire cast. You know, I'm sure if somebody announced Sadakist is coming back, there'd be a lot of interest for that, right? And you can see things as well when legendary players come into a broadcast. Is Get Right doing a desk that will generate some interest. Nobody is boycotting broadcasts because they don't like on-air talent. Nobody walks away in droves from a broadcast.
The way you know they don't, Richard, is they wouldn't then waste their time in every thread making the comments saying, I hate this caster. You just wouldn't be watching, would you? What happens when you do that, by the way, if you're an idiot fan who doesn't think that we understand this, is what that really means is I have to watch the broadcast because, of course, I love the game. I just don't like this guy's voice. By the way, totally fine opinion, but it's just don't pretend, as Richard says, that you're not watching the stream. You aren't. It's like that's just the most ridiculous lie that fans try to push of all time. Because, like I say, it wouldn't be the biggest deal in the world to you if you just could tune it out, you know.
Yeah, and you know, you have the bottom line is we know from the viewership numbers, viewership goes up when a handful of teams play
Yes.
People watch the teams.
Yep.
And the reason the Katowice, we'll talk about Katowice in this episode as well.
It's why TO's on some low-key level. I know the broadcast, they have to lie to you guys and gaslight that they love all the upsets. Low-key, they wish number 1 and number 2 in the world played in the final every time. Of course.
Dude, again, like, this isn't even a fucking secret, mate. When Cloud9 had that miracle run at Boston, like, you know, all the executives were fucking jacking off at fucking E-League. It was perfect. You know, the one thing we were worried about is how does any involvement occur here? And Cloud9 with a wild card that basically enabled us to break viewership records.
Yep.
You know, keep in mind at the time, you know, 1.3 million concurrent viewers watched that moment. And, you know, that's an insane number. It was a record. I think it might be a record that still stands. So, you know, that wouldn't have happened without Cloud9. It's as simple as that. So the idea, by the way, but Yanko's resident sleeper. So that number goes down by like 100,000. Like, you know, it just doesn't happen like that. You're talking about someone who, like, you know, I've seen it all. I hate talent announcements in this industry. I wish people just wouldn't do them, because you invite this idea that, like, you know, your choice is somehow like community approved. Like, fuck you, what you think about it. I couldn't even imagine, by the way, being so mentally ill that if, like, you know, when I watch Sky Sports, I know who the commentators are. Right? When I watch a game of football, they're using their commentators. When I watch BBC, they're using their commentators. I wouldn't be tweeting it like at BBC. I can't stand Martin Tyler or whoever the fuck it is. Or like, get John Motson off. He's an old wrinkly wanker. He's terrible. You know, he's retired now, obviously. You know, but like, you imagine doing that with your time. But people do that in esport all the fucking time. They literally do it like that. And we feed into that. BBC don't announce like weeks in advance. John Motson will be doing it. No, we hire him to do it. Of course, we're using the people we use, you know, so we have this weird culture about it anyway. So yeah, nobody is not like Flashpoint's viewership isn't going to suddenly spike because Thorin's gone. Anyone peddling that theory is deeply unserious. But anyway, you finally bit the bullet and left. I mean, I think I sort of knew coming in to the end of like season 2 that this project was just another sort of one of esports great failures. Like,
sure.
You know, it was never going to go to the places it could have done with the talent it had attached to it. And, you know, I watched your video and you were saying that's because, you know, people just didn't want to drive it. They didn't want to, and wouldn't let people who did want to drive it do it for them. Like that classic esports, you know, where it's like, we won't give you control, but we don't want to do it ourselves, you know.
Basically, the long and short of Flashpoint could be summed up like this. The league only makes sense if it has good enough teams to allow the broadcast to be successful in the ways it is being innovative. Now, the reason it never had good enough teams is that not only did the orgs not have the teams to launch, which, by the way, is actually on some level fine, aside from that story I tell about how they'd sort of promised me Astralis and then maybe OG. From that. Aside from that, by the way, it still would have been fine to not have the good lineups when you launch, because you could always say, well, the whole reason you created Flashpoint is that the ecosystem didn't incentivize or justify spending on these teams. But now that I'm in Flashpoint, it obviously does incentivize it. Otherwise, why am I doing Flashpoint and paying $2 million? So to me, the big problem is this. Is the reason I made that tweet where I basically quadrupled down in May of last year and I say it will either be the best tournament ever or I won't be part of it, is because I realized right then, once I knew they didn't have the teams after Flashpoint 1, it was like, right, that's the only way that this ever gets fixed. The teams show that they are willing to spend the money. Now, what I then did in the next, let's say 9-8 months after that, is I basically stress tested all the circuits within each of these orgs to find out, is it in fact the case that they want to spend the money, but something's fucking it up? It could be their GM just doesn't know who the players are. So I go and get the free agents, I bring them to him. I go and get players that might be interested in leaving an EPL team if you give them a big buyout. Not interested, don't even pay attention. Right, you know what? In that case, maybe the GM just doesn't think they're good players. Let's find out who this GM is. GM's a nobody, guy who doesn't even know the game. I talk to them, they barely even understand things like, how would the player need a visa to come? What happens? What team was he in the past? Or what, you know, would he want to play with a player at Y that's already in yours? They don't know any of these. So then I start trying to figure out, right, how do I get these GMs replaced now? If I replace the GM of some massive American org that's got millions to spend, they claim to have millions, and if I replace him with Zeus or Cassard or some legendary person who definitely knows the space, does it fix it then? Now I can't get them to get Cassard or Zeus now. They're only going to take fucking Cuban, who was bottom of our shot. You know, like the whole thing was ridiculous. Like, by the end of it, basically, a mixture of my own life experiences at Flashpoint 2, which we detailed quite in depth on that By the Numbers episode. I think it was one of the first ones this year. And some of the hints I'd been dropping all year, but combined with what I realized, they're never going to upgrade the players. And they're not even basically going to pay me a reasonable amount so that I have enough time to potentially see if there's another thing I haven't yet thought of that I could somehow fix that has fuck all to do with being a creative director. So I just thought, you know what? At the end of the day, what's the point in being the guy pulling and dragging and pushing a rock up and then you look behind and no one's doing anything? Like, when you realise they're not doing anything, you realise, why am I doing this? Like, I've just gotten too tunneled into the idea that if I do my part the best possible. Basically, I was in the situation, I'll use an egotistical example, that Simple is in Na'Vi, where I wish Simple just turned around and said, will you just fucking get some good players in here? What is this? Flamey, you're still here 5 years later. Are you ever going to do anything? What? Boomich, if I wanted some cunt to pretend to be my IGL, I had the biggest cunt of all time to do that, and he'd won majors. What, Perfecto? More like fucking Imperfecto, which is the only thing that the morons on HLTV haven't figured out, because they think Defecto is the actual right one. They don't even know the joke, mate. So anyway, the point is, I wish Simple would do that, but we all know, sadly, Simple has had too many years of being a bad teammate. So what he does is he gets up and he puts on sackcloth, and he fucking flails himself and goes, it must be the GOAT ×2 to win the game. I used to be so nasty back in Flipside. So anyway, sadly, I was doing that. So one day I just realised, wait a minute, why don't I just tell everyone who's not called Cloud9 and MIBR, see how they do without me? And tell you what, as I said, none of them knew I was going to drop that video. None of them knew I was going to leave, by the way. The whole reason why they thought they could nickel and dime me is they were so sure in their brain, Richard. This will tell you everything you need to know about CSGO owners. They couldn't conceive in their brain anyone would walk away from a six-figure contract. They couldn't believe it, Richard. Like, in their brain, no matter what they do, I have to say yes at the end for the money, right? That was the world they're in. So as a result, like, the mad thing about this is I actually genuinely realised I do think the project could succeed if I was part of it, but that's only because I would do everything I can. So I would basically take it to the limit. If I leave, I also realise, what have they even got left at this point in time? Just got Monty, maybe a couple of the talent, and still the same shit teams. So it's like, the project, it's like I've been saying about players and orgs as I've discovered some of the things the last year. This project deserves to die. It's not that it will die and it's unlikely. It deserves to die. The people who put the millions in and would not spend anything else, they deserve to see those millions just in a black hole and never get them back ever again. And by the way, if any of those orgs leave CS, good riddance, get your fucking bindle, don't ever come back to this town again. You are not welcome, and I'll do my absolute best to see that anyone but you succeeds in this industry.
Yeah. Well, look, this is what I don't get. Who like, I know you might still not be in a position where you can't name names, but like, what are we talking about? Are we talking about all the owners here?
Everyone except Cloud9 and MIBR. I only give a slight concession because they were locked into the whole Brazilian angle. Aside from them, and by the way, at least I'll say some of the movers and shakers in that team, not all of them are idiots. Cloud9, by the way, did do the massive spend. I can't blame them. The team just didn't work out. It's not their fault. Woxic just fucking shit the bed. I will say I am pissed in the context that they could have had the Nico Super team, but whatever. That's by the by. They also maybe is a team that could have been an Astralis purchase over the year. There's plenty of things could have happened, but at least I know they were trying, Richard. They were making moves. Maybe not all of them worked out. Almost everyone else on that docket, like, go down the list if you want. Mad Lions, what did you do? You took some of the most promising young Danish talents, slowly sold them off one by one, and now you're going to build a tier 2 fucking international roster. Great. Shut the fuck up. You even won the prize money, you daft cunt. Then you go over, Envy, they're probably, even though I like Astro as a person, the lineups they put into Flashpoint the tournament, like, pound for pound, how big your org is versus the lineup you put in the server, that's actually that's an offense to me that you would bring that lineup to our tournament. That's a fucking disgrace. So if you tell me, oh, I'm being cynical and min-maxing, that'd be fine. Don't then tell me that you're actually you thought that lineup had potential. If that lineup had potential, you don't know Counterstrike, get the fuck out of Counterstrike, go back to Call of Duty, you daft cunt, and plug in your keyboard and do fucking aim assist, you wanker, because you need some aim assist. Go down the list. Gen G, all they did, mate, is just give me platitudes all day long. They were always talking a good game about upgrading their lineup. Their lineup just got worse over the years. They let people go to Valorant and then just killed the lineup. And the lineup they brought to Flashpoint 2 with those 2 Swedish stand-ins, another offence. What an absolute disgrace that a founding team would bring a fucking lineup like that again. Keep going down the list. Everyone. Contact, again, It's not a joke why I had Christine say that as though that was her thing. What is this, the United Nations of trash? It's just you. All you did is just collect a bunch of flags and then say, is there a live human being with this flag who can play the game? Like, were these pro players? I must have missed something, mate. And you brought in Snappy, a fucking system IGL, and gave him 0 system players and a bunch of FPL players. You're the dumbest motherfuckers of all time. That's like getting Evil Knievel to drive a fucking, like, wheels on wheels. Like, he's not going to be winning the race, is he, you daft cunt? He needs some material that he can work with. Go down the list. Everyone else, who else? Dignitas, mate. Dignitas actually looks like they're trying to lean hard into the original branding that everyone makes fun of. If you Google Dignitas, it looks like that's the last place you ever play professional Counterstrike while you live in this fucking mortal realm. Who's even on the list after that? Is that everyone? With Cloud9, look, I mean, we already did Cloud9. That's everyone in it. Is there everyone left?
No, I think that's it. Whatever. I mean, no, but it's what I do. Like, I mean, listen, like. It sounds there. It is almost everyone that's involved, right? Like, you know, and not just the NA owners. Which, I mean, I just think,
mate, there's not a single excuse they didn't come up with to not spend the money. Like, at the end of the day, all of them combined. Where's the players? Where's the lineups? Where's anything? They never bought it, did they? They never gave a fuck.
But they were never going to commit to it.
No, I don't think they were. Sadly.
You know, like I keep talking about this. One of the biggest problems that is facing North American esports right now, you know, it's not that they don't have money, because they do. Yes. It's not that they don't have the games, because they do. It's not that they don't have developer support, because very often developers are actually, you know, US based and therefore US centric. And the only region they really give a fuck about is China. And that's because of money and obviously the fact that no one can fuck with China or over anything anymore. Certainly not America, when it can just choose to crash your economy anytime it wants. What's wild about it is, like, these owners they just look at the games that they're involved in, and it's like, how easy is it for me to turn a profit, basically? And it's like, it shouldn't be when you're building stuff. Like, they all think they're like, you know, some Jerry Jones type character running like a big franchise org or whatever. They go around, they have all these meetings with like important luminaries that like want to bring their kids to esports events, or having pictures took with them, like, oh look, I met this guy, oh look, I've had dinner with Mark Cuban. Like, fucking hell, that bum's everywhere, by the way. Fuck, you know, it's like, what they don't want to actually run it like a sports team. Sports team, you take a loss sometimes. Sports team, you have lean years. Sports team, you know, you have to build something up. You know, you weren't. The NFL weren't fucking making mad bank at the start. NBA weren't making mad bank at the start. You have to take your time. Build
I'll even throw one in there.
None of these guys want to do that.
I'll throw in a premise that's completely lost on these guys if they claim they want to be like sports franchises. If you're the new franchise, you must overpay and get a star player. That's fucking rule number 1. If you want to open an NBA franchise in some like obscure place, you better get like the number 1 draft pick or like some god tier free agent and pay him so much to come to your team that obviously won't be good from day one, that it's worth him coming. Instead, these teams, like they didn't do any of that stuff, mate. They didn't even follow the basic sports
principles. They were waiting for the big boys to come in, and they were going to do it. This is the thing I found with these North American owners increasingly. What they want to do is they make out that they want to be like trailblazers, pioneers, that they want to build a brand. But actually, what they really want to do is they're super content to ride on the coattails of actual successful orgs. And they do it all the time. You know, and it's like you say, Gen G, you know, like, don't tell me you ever gave a fuck about CS, mate. That was just a roll of the dice for you. You know, Rogue had more fucking commitment than you did. Don't tell me you're over at Envious as well. A team with their pedigree, with their, you know, having won a fucking major, and the way that's gone down. Put it this way, whenever Cloud9 fans are feeling bad, you could have been Envy. Don't ever think you're a bad example of going from fucking glory to nothing when Envious is still around. And, you know, like, It's the lies. It's the lies that bother me. It's that these people get attached to these projects. They say they're fucking serious. And they're like, we have big desire to get involved with this, and we're going to do this at Astro. We're going to spend big on... Just pack up your fucking tools and go home. You're fooling nobody at this point. And it's like you say, these were all founder members in this league who thought you were going to land a couple of big fish like Astralis or whatever, and they were just going to carry the whole project for everybody else. That was literally it. And you know how I know that they do that? Because they do that in Overwatch. Remember, Overwatch started with your merch is your merch, and you sell merch, and whoever sells the most merch makes the most money, because that's how it should operate. But because some shit fucking brands couldn't sell their merch and others could, like the Shock, who are absolutely killing it because they have competent management and people who know what they're doing, people like Andy Miller, who, by the way, whether you agree with him or not, and I certainly didn't at the time, and I'm still ambivalent now, he at least sold his team for 3 mil to Evil Geniuses, and at the time said that's the only time we've ever even turned like a profit on it, and probably over the course of the team we might not even have broke even there. But at least he got something out of it. He built something and he sold it when he realized it weren't working for him anymore. But anyway, they changed it over in Overwatch. Now it's like, you sell 1 million shirts, I sell 10, I still get an equal cut from everyone around the table.
It's like the mad, obvious, like borderline strawman that everyone always suggests. Like, oh, if you just had like any kind of social welfare, everyone just won't work, and then you get a shell more money. It is like that in literally these games. Yep. That's why the real thing, you're kind of hinting at it here, but the real meltdown that's going to happen in a few years in all the franchise leagues is going to be this. It's when the big fish that Richard's talking about, the G2 in LEC, as you're saying, the Shock if you're an Overwatch league. These I'm going to guess like fucking, I don't know, it might even be Hastro's team if it's in fucking CWL or whatever. The teams that actually are the big teams in those leagues are going to eventually turn around to the devs and go, why the fuck is this guy in the corner doing nothing and getting his share of the profits? Because that's the problem. The rev share model they're going for, which is what you're talking about now. Obviously, they want to be the guy in the corner doing nothing. They want to go, look, I'm going to min-max. I'm going to spend the minimum. I'm in the league now. Honest, when I get in the league, though, I'll spend money. Now, then you get in the league, it's like politicians. No one's going to hold your feet to the fire. You're in the league. And remember, it'd be such a massive scandal to have to kick an org that's almost the last thing they'll ever consider doing. It's why they won't even commit to it in their rules. They'll always say like an option exists to kick them if they lose every game. But like the Shanghai Dragons, they'll never kick you if you lose every game. Of course not, because you're the fucking team that represents Shanghai, for God's sake, in a fucking game that needs China. So yeah, basically these people, it's like you say, they want someone to come in who can sell merch. If they can't sell all the merch, and then they just take their cut. And until there's a world in which you can force the lower teams to do something. Well, now imagine having a league, Flashpoint is this, where every org is like that. Even the ones that aren't, like Cloud9 as an org is like that, but they have a lineup in Flashpoint 1 that's like that. It's not a good enough to do. So as a result, yeah, I see what you mean, mate. They didn't actually have, basically, it was like a fucking rigged card game, and they didn't bother inviting any of the marks. It was just only the criminals, like ripping each other off.
So here's another question: like, is how much were Face It involved?
Not really. Like basically, Face It were just like technical solutions. So they ran the tournament in person. They would do the online qualifier and stuff. But so as far as I know, they had no decision-making power. Like they couldn't, for example, they had nothing to do with like if fines were employed and things like that. You know, that was like all like border people who did these things. Basically, Face It was just, put it this way, Face It themselves, in theory, like I said at the beginning, because their percentage within the company vests over the years that they're involved with the project, they're actually like borderline subservient to the project. So they're not like Mick, for example, from Face It isn't coming in. He can't do anything about these things. He tried to, by the way. I'll even give him credit. He was another person, understandably so, because he has a real business. He is trying to actually operate like adjacent to Flashpoint. Unlike these owners, by the way, who've put millions in because they have a million other business interests. They might even just walk away from it and just say, fuck it. He can't do that. He needs us to succeed. He doesn't have ECS anymore. So I will say he's another person who went above and beyond his job title, as far as I can tell, trying to push some of these things, trying to come up with angles as to how we could get new players in, how we can get the fucking fines implemented. The problem is, it's like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You could. There's no, by the end, I'm not joking. I tried everything. There was nothing these orgs were going to ever do to spend money. Like if I tell you, you can have Nico and all these best players for like, you know, fucking 5 million. No, I'm not interested. Oh, you can have this like top 5 team in the world for 3 million. Not interested. You can have this player. He's only won 3 majors. He's nothing. He's not even a buyout. No reply. Like at that point in time, you won't spend money. There's nothing you'll do. There's nobody I could bring you.
Yeah. I mean, the reason I asked about Face It was because, you know, I remember Mick when he was, you know, Michele, for those that know. You know, I remember when he was coming in, he was like pretty excited about being attached to the project. And obviously, you know, like Face It have had a bit of a mixed history, but this kind of felt like it was going to be their big fucking redemption arc.
Sure.
You know, they were going to be attached to a
project. I think your phone's near the monitor.
Oh,
is that you?
That again? Yeah, it almost certainly is. It's my mixer, mate. I got some fucking... mate, it's from China. It's probably listening to my fucking calls.
Fair enough.
So, I bet you haven't heard that for a while.
As soon as they heard Shanghai Dragons, it probably started fucking
exactly.
up in the red phone went off somewhere.
He's talking about China crashing the American economy again. Get him. Anyway, you know, so for them, I felt like sorry because I've had my differences, we'll face it. But the one thing I'll always say is at the end of the day, like if you remove all the bullshit, you know, they're good people.
They're earnest people. They're not trying to con anyone. If
Yeah.
they do something bad in competition, that's just because they fucked it up. But they're not doing it out of cynicism. Put it that way. I will say that.
Exactly. And you know, Michele didn't have to come and do this. Faces didn't have to, you know, like you say, they'd already built projects, by the way, which were almost ahead of where Flashpoint was, you know, in terms of ECS and stuff like that. They've run successful stuff. So it was kind of a weird one for me. But what I was worried about was like them coming out and being the people that are going to end up invariably carrying the can.
I would hope not.
Yeah,
it certainly isn't their fault. Again, like put it this way: if all the things they did on their end were the exact same, but we had 3 of those teams I described earlier, it's a different project instantly, and that's not. As a result, it can't be their fault, you know.
So, I mean, what do you think happens now with it? Because I mean, you're obviously saying, you know, like there's a group of people of which you are one, that's like really working above and beyond, doing a ton of work to just try and make it. But these owners are just sort of content to let the project go fallow. So I mean, what even happens for season 3? What is there a season 3 scheduled now? Do we even
personally like? Obviously, I won't reveal anything super secret stuff, but I personally think there will at least be season 3. I think there's a potential, by the way, that's even ends up being better than the others in terms of maybe the teams or whatever you go. You know, that stuff isn't necessarily decided and was always up in the air, even coming into all the tournaments. There was always worlds where some teams could have said yes, did say yes, or said yes and pulled out, or, you know, I mean, I implied it. I basically said it in my video. At this last Flashpoint, Heroic just straight up could have been in the tournament. Their players, remember, were number 1 in the world a few months before, and their players could have won $500,000. I mean, look at the teams that did. Virtus.pro won the tournament, but they didn't because their CEO was so incompetent, he just couldn't fucking reply. That's not even a joke. Yeah. This fucking clown, who every single time we interacted with him, just either lied or was just that incompetent, just failed to get his team into a tournament with literally just basic competence. So as a result, like I could see a world where there's another Flashpoint. I think probably Flashpoint 4 probably is contingent on what happens to Flashpoint 3, because I think at that point in time, I think it was only like the first 2 years was like guaranteed. I think beyond that, like that was where potentially they probably had like an out, or people decide if they want to reinvest more money or whatever the fuck it might be, you know. So the reason though I say that is, it's not that the people working there aren't good. Like, obviously, Monty's going to do his best. He's contracted. I'm sure some of the others, like Flashpoint people, Face It people, will still keep doing their jobs. Some of the board people will try to get them to improve players, etc. My problem is this: when I just saw how much I was pushing and in ways which went above and beyond the Call of Duty, and then they didn't even want to compensate me, I just want to see what happens when that falls away. I mean, I'll just draw a contrast actually to something you once said years and years ago. It was quite a good way of contrasting. I hadn't even thought of myself. There was a similar scenario happened when I left SK Gaming, an old school website I used to work for back before Reddit was a huge thing. People used to just go to like one big website. So instead of there being ESPN and Counterstrike, you had like SK Gaming, you had digitaltv.org, and you had like, you know, you had the big sites. If you were German, you had readmore.de. Everyone went to their big sites, and that's where you got all the news. So even if HLTV did the news post, someone would repost it on our site, rewritten them, we'd tag them. You hear that, Mira? We tagged them, we put a hyperlink in there, mate. Tim Berners-Lee invented it for us and everything, you daft cunt. Might even get to that later in this episode. So anyway, basically, when we would have all this stuff, our site used to have like, you know, 1 million uniques per month and stuff. We were a massive traffic site. When I left for similar reasons. They didn't particularly appreciate me. They wouldn't give me like a bump up in money. I was doing most of the job way above and beyond what an editor-in-chief should do. There was months where I did 70% of the posts myself as a fucking editor-in-chief. So what happened was, when I left, I remember you once made a comment where you were like, kind of says it all, that when Thorin left, they had to replace him with 9 people. It's like the same thing. Yep. It just makes you realise, wait a minute, the best way you can actually show some cunt in a toxic relationship that like they didn't appreciate you is let them have a go at it. Go on then, you do what I was doing. See ya, I'll just be on my bike and you tell you what, here's the best joke of all. Bring in the guy after me who's going to replace me, same money, see if he can do it. I'll have a laugh just fucking watching you on a deck chair, mate, with a beer. I can't wait.
So, yeah, I mean, I won't belabor the point with Flashpoint. I'll give my own thoughts on it, and then we'll get into IEM Katowice, then back to some drama and some roster changes and everything else. But I mean, like, for me, I don't know, man. I just think like whenever you bring those owners to the whenever you bring those owners to the table, like it's like you say, they can't conceive of a world where you might want to do things right for the sake of it being right. You might want to do things this way because that's the way it should be done. It's got nothing to do with money. It's got nothing to do with profit. It's got nothing to do with pandering. It's that is how it needs to be done. These guys just don't think like that. And this rush of VC money we've had into esports that has fallen into the hands of like these people who, a lot of them, what have they really built? They had a YouTube channel. And now they've got $60 million of someone else's money to spend, and that's just the first round that you raise. Yep. And they don't know, not only do they not know anything, they think it's just going to sort of take care of itself.
Dude, I always used to say this about the Splice guy, because the Splice guy comes from literally the background you're talking about. He sort of got enough clout with an investment group, and I think, what was it, like New York or New Jersey or something? He was in some specific area where he had like an investment group of businesses, and he just then took that and parlayed it into everything he did with Splice, right? But the problem was, and I always used to say this about all those owners, is they mistook getting someone to give them 10 million with they made 10 million. It's like the distinction is so key that when you see it, it's no surprise these people don't have any competence. Like, the idea is they couldn't make 10 million and then do something with their own 10 million. They can just trick you into giving you your 10 million and then misspend it, which is what nearly all these orgs do, quite frankly.
Yeah. It's I thought without some of the bigger European, especially, adults in the room. This is why ESL, love them or hate them, this is where they've absolutely crushed it, because they've got those old school legacy orgs involved over there in the Louvre agreement. People who, again, sometimes will be on the wrong side of the argument, but there's no question their competency or their commitment. Again, Victor from Team Liquid, very good example. He's sort of the intelligent, competent yin to fucking the Steve Ardenset yang, and somehow that relationship works, and Team Liquid's a very functional and successful organization. But once you don't have those kind of people attached to a project, and you let this, like, it's like the equivalent of new money, and it's very gauche, and it's very flamboyant, and it's very loud, but it's got no competence or weight behind it. Splice were an example, a nightmare from start to finish. Terrible branding. What does it stand for? Why is it a snake? Why does it look like the Gadsden flag? Just weird shit, right? Like, anyone with half a brain could sit down and tell you, well, that's got a political connotation. That's got to go. But I like a snake, said Marty in between drinks of fucking soy milkshakes. So he gets it because the people who are paying for it, well, he must know what he's doing. He's conned us. We can't be morons too. So that on and on it goes, and it's this cycle of incompetence. It's like, so yeah. I always thought Flashpoint, it was gonna basically, what was gonna make Flashpoint survive was going to be the quality of the broadcast, the WWE writers, the talent that was involved, the skits, the bits, the shoulder content, the ancillary content, the tactical breakdowns. Can't do any of that because of the pandemic. So basically,
yes, that is another factor, by the way, that I shouldn't actually have missed, which is, I can certainly blame them all for the things they did or didn't do, but certain factors would never have been possible for the fact that all the tournaments took place during the lockdown. Like, yeah, you're right. Put it this way, as shit as Flashpoint 1 teams were, I could have had a lot of fun with people like Freiburg, Get Right, etc. If I could do like shoulder content with them and have them on a show, like, I still could have done a lot more with that for sure, but it just was not possible, as you say.
Yeah, and when like, when you don't have the teams, like we just said earlier, you got to have the broadcast, you got to have the product. Think about like a wrestling promotion. You might not have all the people who can do the high spots, but if you've got, good commentators and you're doing big bumps and crazy bits, and maybe you have like that one star who was like good 10 years ago, Randy the Rams out of retirement or whatever, you can make it work.
You've got to do like the TWA aspect, right? Haven't you? Like, as you say, if I had the dig players, the boom, even Guardian, there's something you could do with it if you took the right angle.
But so there was a lot of problems. I'm like I mean, I'll watch what happens in season 3, but I think, is Monty going to stay involved? Is he still over there?
As far as I know, there's no plans for him to leave. This is just something I took on my own initiative.
Well, we'll wait and see, and we'll watch this space. Right, let's knock Katowice out. I'd rather talk about drama and roster changes than the events in some ways. It was, I thought, a great event. It was nice to have some real big teams running up against each other, upsets, twists,
gangs
turns. So I'm just going to pick some stuff out. I mean, obviously, we don't need to belabor the point of Evil Geniuses. They just didn't give a fuck, did they? They weren't trying. I suppose the big shock right from down there at the bottom, let's talk about Vitality. Finished 9th to 12th. This was after Apex had come back after being out of the team. So it wasn't like they were using Shox as an IGL, which would have been sort of the tailor-made excuse that maybe you would have thrown out there, right? So this was strange because I felt it was rushed. I think the original plan was to leave Apex out for this event. But because of the size and stature of the event and the worry that without him, it was going to be a disaster, I think they brought him back perhaps a little bit sooner. And things started out okay. They had a win over OG. We'll be talking about OG in a bit. But after that point, it just didn't really work out for them. You know, they lost to Liquid, lost to Virtus Pro. And it was like they didn't look themselves.
Zero event.
Yeah, it wasn't even exactly. It was like Ziwu wasn't even, still amazing. I mean, yes, still amazing.
Bad game for him is still a good game.
Yeah, exactly.
People, of course.
Yeah. But yeah, it was so a lot of weirdness going on around Vitality right now, and with all the shifts and stuff that you've seen, especially with the CIS region finally, getting the plaudits it deserves and converting that into deep runs at tournaments and indeed tournament wins. I have to worry a little bit about Vitality, honestly. They seem to have hit this weird, considering we're only in March and we were talking at the end of 2021, there was an argument about whether or not they were going to be, the team of the year. Astralis just pipping them. The first quarter of this year has been a little bit flat for Vitality, which is, they're down to 5th in the world rankings. You would kind of hope they would do a little bit better. I mean, they had that disastrous blast as well, right? Yep. Blast spring just before it.
I'm with you on the whole Apex thing. Something about even the messaging on that just doesn't add up. That really does look like, guess what? And by the way, they've at least set a precedent, so I could have believed this initially. Right, our coaching staff, who, as far as we can tell, hasn't put a fucking foot wrong in about a year and a half, including, by the way, even moves like removing MBK now. They've actually done some fucking big-time moves, bringing in Shox, changing who the IGL is, changing the fucking sixth-man scenario, how they practice. They've done everything right, and they've made some bold decisions. So they say, right, our coaching staff has decided to bench Apex, the IGL, just for this initial period. But that's the thing, Richard, like you say, if they benched him for the first 2 months and it was something like, player burnout, exhaustion, or, he's having some issues in the game, he needs to have time to step away, recollect what he's doing, reflect on how the team operates without him, and then we'll bring him back and he's going to be great. This looks to me like they took him out, they shit the bed at that blast, and they were like, fuck, get him back in the lineup now. And they were like, oh, yeah, he's good to come back now, it's fine, because mate, this didn't add up the way it was done. It reminds me, if anyone's ever seen the classic League of Legends documentary Breaking Point, basically in it they do the same thing, right? They have this star player Dardoch, but because he's an arsehole as a person, they bench him, right? They suspend him to start the split, but then because they just lose the first game almost immediately, they just instantly bring him back to the lineup because they want to win. And I even say in this documentary, you basically just sent the message to this guy there that you can do whatever you want, mate. Basically we're at your mercy, not the other way around, which is what the whole exercise was supposed to show. You can be benched, the team isn't bigger than you. So that's the only thing that worries me, is I don't understand, if it was such a big deal to bench him, why he's brought straight back. Because as you say, Katowice is basically, aside from the major, Katowice and Cologne are the events of the year. So it's Katowice, Cologne, and the Blast Global Finals. Those are the 3 biggest events in Counterstrike without a major. So the idea you gamble one of those, or you half discipline or half rest a guy and then bring him back, the whole thing seems a bit slapdash. And as I say, I've been very impressed generally with what the management of Vitality does. As I say, in fact, it's going to be the line I'm going to use for a lot of my public stuff when I do interviews with people outside esports. Everything they think Astralis is from the marketing, Vitality actually is. That is a real team where the coaching staff knows what they're doing, where they have outside sources who come in and be able to add something meaningfully to the team. They've been able to innovate new ways of running a team, running a lineup, inserting players, removing players, changing leadership, taking out seemingly vital pieces and replacing them with literal rookies who eventually mature and become competent. That team has done a fantastic job. So I'm willing to give them a break for this one, but it's very alarming because right now, especially with these killer new teams that have just risen up these last few months and some of the roster changes, mate, Vitality can't fuck around, because you don't want to suddenly wake up tomorrow and be the 8th best team. That isn't going to be a good look, because as you said, they were a lock to be top 3 this year. They were one of the only teams I thought were definitely going to make it. Who the fuck knew with Astralis? You never know with Na'Vi. Vitality should have been the sure thing.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like I said, the messaging is super weird because, I don't even understand. Xtaz took him out. Like, I mean, remember that? Like, X-Tags tapped him on the shoulder and said, "You're not IGL anymore. You need a break." And they were going to definitely rest him for this big event. And then I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Maybe an owner has said, "Listen, X-Taz, like, I know you're the coach. We've given you a lot of autonomy with the team, and that's generally been working for us. But this is like one of the biggest events of the year. If this was a LAN, it would be one of the biggest events in CSGO history. Like, you can't leave our IGL out." And I wonder if X-Taz has been cut out the knees. I don't know. There's like a weird dysfunctional air about Vitality going into this event. The shit either side of it wasn't good. And then, if Ziwoo's just having like ordinary Ziwoo performances instead of the level of performance you need to sort of carry the rest of the guys, it was very, very strange for me. So, I don't know. Something to watch. Because I think Vitality are about to find they had it pretty easy last half of last year to stay up there. There was a lot of teams in transition. We hadn't, with the CIS guys, we're still region locked. If we get a few more events like this, and remember, LAN's coming back this year. We got a major this year. I don't know. I don't know where Vitality are going to be. So, and
also, as you also see at this event, this is why I will always give extra props to Simple and to Ziwoo for how they play individually, because it's literally unacceptable that we expect them to play at the level they do every tournament. Like, nobody should have to do that. So the idea that if Ziwoo just has a normal tournament for another star player, like they don't even have a chance to win, that's ridiculous. Yeah. Like that's why these guys really do have like an unfair expectation. It would be like the only contrast I'll give you a Mad Boomer reference, but it's so on point if you know it, right? One of my favorite players of all time, I've ever told people, because I grew up and I didn't have Sky Television in the days when UK football was on Sky Television. Yeah. I used to watch Serie A. I used to watch Football Italia, of course, on a fucking Sunday morning. And I'll tell you who the player who was the most slept on fucking player of all time to play in Italy, because he wasn't winning the trophies because his team wasn't good enough, was Gabriel Batistuta for Fiorentina. Yeah, this cunt used to have to score. This guy used to have to score like 2 goals every game in motherfucking 90s Serie A, by the way, where you don't do that unless you're like AC Milan with like, an entire front line of like the best strikers and the midfielders in the world. This cunt used to basically be on like, like a mid-table team. He would just have to like win, like they win 3-2 because he scored 2 goals. Like, he'd have to do that every game, and otherwise they couldn't win the game. Like, that's what I feel like when I watch Simple and Ziwoo play sometimes. Like, I want to just look at their teammates and go, listen, you're doing a good enough job now, but like, this is unacceptable. Like, you have to pick it up a bit, mate.
Mate, you should have seen when the Fiorentina were talking about selling Batistuta to Lazio. It got like floated one year.
I bet there was people just threatening to kill him.
Florence was on fire, mate. People lost their fucking minds over that. Like, so Batistuta was like, "Yeah, I guess I'm just not moving." Then yeah, it's for the best. Actually, he was there, but
he was a god, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was an absolute godhead. Like, and then many years later, he moved to.
He won at Roma.
Team in Roma, it was.
Right at the end of his career.
Wanted to get a championship, play with Totti. Can dig that, like.
Oh, he deserved one at the end.
Yeah. So, right, let's talk about G2.
Yes, smooth segue there.
Yeah, why not? Get me out. Definitely get me out.
That's what everyone's saying in fucking G2 at this point in time, mate.
Exactly.
Nico's unbelievable, and Nico must be like some fucking character out of like Magic the Gathering with like an aura around him that just affects all teammates. Like, in order for Nico to be the godhead and carrier, sacrifice 3 other characters to the fucking graveyard. Like, what is this, mate?
Yeah,
what is this?
So listen, G2, it was like a mid-tier finish. They finished 7th to 8th. Not great. And there was a few concerning results in there, I would say. Eventually, they did run into the CIS wall, so maybe you can be a little bit sympathetic. But remember, this is a team that, you spend big on a player like Nico.
Of course.
He's playing well at the tournament. Piece. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is not meant to be a work in progress now. When they brought Nico into the team, that was meant to be it. That was meant to be the click completed. Let's go win tournaments. In actual fact, G2 have been very mediocre since Nico joined. And actually, I might even go so far as to say look worse in some ways than
stylistically. I think they have their issues now, mate. Like, a lot of other people look fucked up in that team in the way they weren't before.
Yeah. So, They got knocked out in the end by Gambit, I think it was. So you can almost forgive that. But let's also just be real. As good as I think Gambit are, as good as I think Virtus Pro are, as good as I think Team Spirit are, I still think if you're spending the money G2 did, and you've got the roster G2 has, you should be looking at those teams and going, well, they're going to give us a tough game, but at the end of the day, we should be able to win, cross 3 maps, grind it out. We've got the talent. We've got one of the best players in the world. That should be enough. And unfortunately, ever since Nico went there, what's interesting is G2 have looked a bit weird tactically. Some of the players like Hunter just aren't stepping up. And as we'll segue into talking about, obviously, they've taken the decision to remove Kenny S, who I think, by the way, has just been cruising for fucking 2 years. I haven't seen someone cruising like this since Al Pacino. So
not bad reference.
Pretty good, right?
Sadly, they're not going to know it. That one's even a pretty obscure one for Al Pacino.
Yeah, whatever. I'm doing the show for me now. Fuck the audience. It's just embarrassing at this point. May as well just be a fucking soundboard. Just pretend I said what you wanted me to say. Just pretend I said Kenny S is great. Just pretend that. Because, that's what you're going to take from it anyway, you absolute morons. So anyway, yeah, G2. I think they've got problems. And I think, I don't want to say that Carlos is like a guy that's like watching a lot of the feedback and he's reacting accordingly. Do you think he jumped the gun a little bit coming out of this tournament and then kicking Kenny? Or do you think that's been a long time coming?
The problem I have is like everything you just said is exactly reasonably characterized. Like, let's be real. I've said it many, many times before. Kenny S is not a player. I know eventually in his career it's going to happen once he's like 30 years old. So I don't know. But he's not a player who gets bad in the server because he just doesn't know how to play Counterstrike. That suggests like his motivation's gone with his specific lineup. Like, I know, for example, one of the bad things that the French players, Shox and Kenny S, have had over their careers is that once they sort of realize, Forrest does the same thing. When he knows his team isn't like championship worthy, yeah, he takes the foot off the gas pedal as well. He goes, I'll just cruise for a bit. Still going to be one of the better players in the team. I'm not going to be the worst. I'll have my odd game when I go off. And then I'll wait until, when they bring in the players that can win. Now we'll try to win. Problem with that is, that doesn't work, Kenny. You just got Nico in the team, mate. Like, if you're Kenny S, even if you're not the Kenny S of years before, you're supposed to go, wait a minute, Kenny S and Nico, that's a fucking major right there, mate. Like, we play our cards right, mate. I do my shit, you do your shit. Like, if you're not motivated then, I've got real questions about that scenario. So that's alarming. Probably more alarming to me is that they make this cut, but it's not because they have some AWPer coming in. They're not, like, going to bring Guardian in or some shit, or they've not got Circa coming from EG. They're just going to make Nico the fucking AWPer. Like, that's the alarming part to me, because yet again, I am back at the same nightmare fucking cycle that I've been through a million times, where magically a move happens that always looks like a move that Nico himself does and does want during his career, but now I'm going to be again gassed at that he had no part in it whatsoever, and that someone just tapped him on the shoulder while he was sleeping, like, you're the AWPer now, Nico. All right, yeah, better just do that then, because the problem with that move is I think that actually is going to make them even worse, mate. Like, I don't have a problem with people like Nico and Shox if they're hybrid. Like, say they just do it on a certain map or a site, like maybe they hold like fucking B on overpass or something. I get it if you want to AWP one spot. When they AWP full time though, it's just a waste of having the best rifler in the world, depending on what year you're talking about. A guy who can win you every clutch and every snap. Like, it just makes you worse. So, in my opinion, I don't like either side of that move. Like, I sort of get it because the team is falling apart, but I would just say that. Let's diagnose why the team's falling apart, because I agree with you. Put it this way. G2 wasn't going to like win tournaments before they had Nico, but the difference was the parts made sense to me. Like, even people like Amalek and Jax, who I've at times in their career in the past not been a big fan of, look like they knew their jobs. Look like they had quite a good division of labour in the team. They just needed a bit more fragging. So you had Nico, which brings a lot more fragging, and everything else in the team just collapses. Like, who in the team of all the 5 players looks like they're playing really well? The only one I could say from Nico is maybe Amanek at times relative to his role. I think even Nexa looked like he fell apart when he got Nico. So it's not like I'm doing all this to be like, Nico, you just directly fucked the team. No, but it's like, mate, how many teams are you going to go to top frag and they'll have the whole team fall apart around you? Like, that's the one thing. Mouse they never were anything. The other teams, literally, your teammates get worse around you. There's something is going wrong in this particular scenario, and I don't know what it is entirely in that case, because I agree, stylistically, I thought they were better before Nico. And like I said before, mate, the reason why I actually had mad props for Carlos for making that move is because that is the move that on paper, it's like, right, you've got
it's like what we're talking about a flashpoint, right?
You've got a top 10 looking team. All you need now is the big star and you can get it done. So he gets the big star. By the way, the biggest available at the time. It didn't happen. it's a mystery to me. Certainly one I'm very interested in the next few months to find out what some of the basically I get the feeling we're never going to find out till a year from now, till some of these players have done their interviews where they sort of hint, like the FaZe players do now, about Nico years later. By the way, just as an aside, I'll throw this out there for the 1 millionth piece of validation you might like, Rich. So when a different betting company did one of them videos with Olaf Meister, make your all-star team, don't worry, he didn't put Nico in there. He had Rops instead of Nico, basically. So at this point in time, almost everyone who was in that FaZe Nico project, Rich, who isn't called Nico, the only thing they could do more to overtly signal that they maybe didn't fuck with Nico and he made a lot of these decisions would be the group fund fucking skywriting saying fuck breadpan head. This is ridiculous. They've all got at this point in time, they're all going, oh, which player, by the way, one other little shout out. I saw Carrigan also was asked about players, and he was like, this is perfect, Rich, because it was Carrigan's such a G. He didn't stop, he just delivered it like this. He goes, basically, the gist was, he goes, I think I'd have to say that Rups was the most complete player that I ever played with. Device, of course, is very special too, but Rups overall, if you guys didn't see how perfect that was, he didn't just say Rups's, because by the way, he could go, well, he's just played with him. He went out of his way to go, but wait a minute, in my mind, of course, I have played with other great players like Device, square brackets, fuck Nico, not Nico. I'm definitely not saying Nico, and that's it. Rops. These guys, you're nailing it. You listen, it's too subtle for the morons. Don't worry, you're never going to get them, but I appreciate it. So similarly, listen, if it ain't you, Nico, you're the most unlucky superstar of all time, and I genuinely mean that, mate, because I have these projects just wither on the vine around you, my dude.
Yeah, no, it's listen, at this point, when you start seeing all the memes from fucking Nexa going, well, it'll be me next or whatever, me being replaced by IGL. I don't think he realizes people are gonna meme you into oblivion when it eventually comes to pass. Because wherever Nico goes, whatever the problem is, well, it's only Nico that can fix it, right? Can't be any of you. You're just me immortals. You're lucky to even be on a team with me. Listen, I've tried reaching out to this guy, and I've said to Nico, if you ever want to sit down and do an interview, because I know you won't do it with Duncan, right? Because he's messaged me privately a few times, and I won't get into the ins and outs of it. But, I've tried. He
doesn't get it.
He literally thinks there's a world where if he just keeps on doing what he's doing, it's all going to click, it's all going to align. He's definitely not going to piss away his career, and everyone's going to remember him as some sort of great, rather than probably one of the biggest wastes of talent we're going to be staring into when it comes to in terms of trophies. So this is already a thing. Why is he picking up the AWP? What is happening? What the fuck is going on? Who's even co-signed that? Who said that's a good idea? So from nowhere, your star rifler, one of the best riflers in the world, is now deciding we're kicking a 10-year AWPer. Yeah, it's me. Are you fucking mad? Are you actually mad? And here's the point, man. Carlos can only do so much. He'll make the big power play, the big dick play. He'll go out and get you the plays. He'll go out and sign somebody. But at the end of the day, when you are existing in Nico's orbit, he has a way, it's like a black hole. It's just inescapable. He will get what he wants. He will do what he wants. And everyone else will have to acquiesce. Can no one in that team tell him, Nico, mate, no. You hybrid opera at this stage in the game. Are you fucking out? Why is he doing it to himself? Because here's the thing: he's a good enough player that he won't look terrible on the AWP.
Oh no way.
No way. He's too naturally gifted. He won't look bad on the AWP. But he will be nowhere near as good as someone that does that shit for a living, day in, day out. When you look at some of the talent that's coming through, other regions, if that was possible to make happen, people who might be looking for a big money move on some of those CIS teams, it's absolutely insane that to fix the AWPer problem, you're going to Nico, and now what? So to replace Kenny S, we're going to pick up some sort of rifler. Who? What's he going to do? It's absolutely, they brought Jax back temporarily. Well, that won't fucking last. I'll tell you why that won't last. Nico looks at players like Jax, very great role players. And again, Jax, mate, mad apologies to you, brother, because like I said at 27 or whatever the fuck, you getting your first chance. It's like last of the summer wine, that age in fucking over it. But you absolutely killed it. You absolutely killed it as a role player. You deserve nothing but respect for what you did in that team. And you're in. And by the way, super unlucky to get cut. It's just not every day a fucking player like Nico comes on the market, and it couldn't be Amanek. So Jax should totally hold his head up high. That's like one of those examples of like just super unfortunate. It had to be you. It's nothing else. He's back in the team, but let me tell you, I'll prepare you for this, Jax. Nico don't respect you. He don't respect role players. He doesn't think those things fucking exist. You have to be a superstar role player to get on Nico's radar, and usually because someone with half a brain has explained to him the concept. You know? Like, this guy spent so much time having to play with Dennis and Spiddy. He'll never have respect for ordinary players ever again. Although he lied through his fucking teeth the entire time and then cunted him off the minute he left fucking Nico Sports, you'll notice. But whatever. This guy is a fucking disaster. I did a video when this move happened. I said I don't think Nico's the answer, actually.
You actually did nail it, mate. You were the only person who was vaguely critical of that move. Yeah, everyone else was like, yeah, oh, brilliant. Because obviously, like in paper, you want to see it. But I agree. No one else even looked at what might it do to the dynamic of the team.
Yeah, it's just... It's bad. I've come to realize that unless you put Nico, like, I don't know what it would take. I don't think he respects.
I don't know who can say no to him. Basically, that's my problem. You know.
Yeah, that's the point. At this point, his ego is so fucking runaway. He needs a handler, but he won't acquiesce to anyone to be that handler. I thought Carlos might have him under control.
I thought so too.
He's picking up the AWP, so I know that's not true. That is not a good idea for anyone. So if you're a G2 fan, right, like, I don't know what
it's going to be a bad 6 months, boys. It's going to be a bad 6 months.
Anyway, what are the storylines should we pull out from IEM? Let's get to this nice middle of the pack, the 5th and 6th teams. Na'Vi, my pick to win the whole tournament. I thought they'd do back-to-back. They finished 5th to 6th. This disappointment, and it's kind of hard to talk about it this way because obviously I'm happy for Jason. I'm made up they had a good deep run and actually have made forward progress. But I really just can't, like, Na'Vi, like, fair enough. They lost a series that they should have won against Liquid, but fair play to Liquid hanging in there.
Yeah.
But Gambit absolutely battered them. Like, it was 2-0.
Oh, that was a shit game as well. They were never in this game. Yeah, it was garbage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the train game, that was Na'Vi's pick. They got 6 rounds. And, you know, they've played Gambit, like, 3 times or something in 2020. And I think they'd only lost once. I don't have the stats to hand. But, you know, at the end of the day, like, I'm sick. I'm done. Na'Vi keep tricking me. They keep tricking me, mate. And I fall for it every time.
Oh, no, I know what you mean, mate. The problem with this is this. The ceiling of Na'Vi, when they hit the top form, it looks awesome. Like, they do look like a team that should be number 1 in the world, era, worst case scenarios, 3rd place at an event if everything goes wrong. But the problem is, like, what they can sometimes turn in is, like, I don't know if there's any team has a worse basement than this fucking team out of all the top squads, you know? Like, talk all the shit you want on Astralis, any of these teams, mate, they'll never be as bad as Na'Vi can be in games. So, like, I agree. They're just the ultimate blue balls team, aren't they?
Yeah. And, you know, it's... all that, right? Do you know why it pisses me off as much as it does? Because it actually does. It's that the CIS region has developed all of this talent, and Na'Vi are the biggest team in the CIS region, and you're still rocking Flamey.
Mate, I said this on Twitter. I thought I nailed this. I don't know why people missed this tweet. Na'Vi's Twitter account did a tweet right after they were eliminated, Rich, that basically said, you know, like, and you guys wonder why we have troubles in the CIS region. And I basically just said, yeah, it couldn't be that the only good player you signed in the last 3 years was Electronic, and you let all the other good players go to those teams. Like, this is madness. Think about that. Like, how are you going to brag about I'll tell you what, Team Spirit and Gambit and VP have got good players. Sign them then, dickhead. What are you talking about? That's like if when Leicester had won the fucking Premier League, they also had all the best players. And then Chelsea was like, what can you do? They have all the best players, fucking Leicester. It's like, well, you're Chelsea, you daft cunt. Why don't you sign them? Why do you offer them some money?
I know it's wild as fuck, but like there's a lot going on. You know, I wanna do, like I didn't think I was gonna do this, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I loved Boomich when he was doing them Numa Year lip syncing videos on YouTube way back when. That's another Boomer reference. People
the saddest, mate, one of the saddest moments ever was I asked him in real life through someone who could translate, does he even know what that reference is? And he said no.
Yeah,
you fucking disgust me.
So anyway, I liked him when he was doing that, but I'm done now. I'm done waiting for that. Right, let's just tell the fucking truth. Cards on the table about Boomich as an IGL. Zeus is a cunt. We've established that many times. That is part of BTN law, right? Zeus is a cunt, and like a lot of cunts, sort of like Alex Ferguson when he went out, or a Man U, right? Like basically, like he wanted to name his successor. And so Zeus is so much of a cunt. He's named a successor where he's like, but you're going to have to keep me around for just one more bloody year while I groom him. So why are we pretending Boomich was like some sick IGL? Like he was the pick? No, Zeus cynically picked someone who had no IGL experience, certainly not at the top level, so he could justify robbing more fucking paychecks off the Na'Vi organization. That's the whole reason Boomich is the IGL on this team. It's not even up for fucking debate. That's what he did. Like Alex Ferguson. Yeah, I reckon we should get that David Moyes in.
So cynical, isn't it? I know.
Yeah, that's literally what he's done. He's done a Fergie. That's all Zeus has done. So listen, I'm going to tell you something. Boomich is 22 years old, and in the 2 years he's been fucking struggling to be an IGL. I haven't seen anything. They've even brought Blade in, and basically all that means is you're guaranteed to lose 3 rounds of map because your clock management shit. That's the Blade hallmark. If you've ever like done a shit fake and then ran onto a bomb site with no utility with 10 seconds left to go and failed to get the bomb plan, you must be being coached by Blade. How the fuck that guy is still dining out on his dog shit rep when what's he responsible for? Fucking, he played in the team that wasn't Na'Vi when he was a player, right? Who never did nothing and never got close. And he fucking was the coach of Flipside, the worst team that I've ever seen play Counterstrike, the most boring, awful team.
As fuck, yeah.
And of course, founded by that absolute fucking melt we were talking about earlier. So now he's been brought in, and I'm sure someone's going to go back in the weeds to find the footage and be going, actually, you know, a good tactical system could work. It could be a good support for Boomich. Yeah, we said them things. Yeah, we did. But, like, we knew on some level...
We wanted to believe.
Yeah, we wanted to believe. We're fucking gaslighting ourselves, aren't we?
Exactly.
Right? So at the end of the day, fuck Blade. Fuck him. It's a joke at this point. This cunt can't manage a clock, let alone a team. Fuck off. Get someone competent. There must be good coaches out there in CIS. There has to be, because they're all playing lights out Counter-Strike. Well, everyone who isn't Na'Vi. I'm sick of watching Simple's good years go to waste. They're not going to last, guys. You had to carry Zeus and Edward like fucking Luke Skywalker on fucking Dagobah. But this time, it's 2 Yodas in his back, right? Doing that shit, miserable as fuck, not winning trophies, not winning majors. Like, you don't want Simple. Nobody in Counter-Strike should want Simple to get to the end of his career and not win a major, by the way. That would be a tragedy. You thought Guardian was fucking sad. It happening to Simple, that's a heartbreaker. But he keeps getting saddled with everyone else's fucking ideas of what he needs and what a Na'Vi team should be. So, fuck Boomich as well. Sick of you cunts running around like... Do they even have tactics? Like, real talk. When you watch Na'Vi, do you think I'm watching a good tactical team?
No, I even think, by the way, actually one of the things that sounds fucked up, but basically I think one of the things that has made Simple look even more impressive is that he looks like he's already reached the point where it's like, I know I can't really trust these guys, so I have to bait you at this point on the T side. On CT side, I've got to take your spot now, mate. That's the only way we're going to hold this spot. So, you know, like, it almost looks like he's doing like the fucking give it here. Like, you can't, you know, like, mate, when he reached that point, like, that just means, you know, even he on some level knows the team's fucked. Come on.
But like, the biggest crime of all, right, is like, so Boomich been an IGL for 2 years, right? 22 years old. Meanwhile, Nafani over in Gambit, 19.
They're killing it as well, yeah.
Absolutely killing it. One of the best tactical sides in World Counter-Strike right now. Got super exciting talent on the books. Somehow, Hobbit's fucking resurrected from the grave. So much so, Vagsuck thinks he's cheating. Brilliant. Probably should have cheated in some other point.
I know.
After winning that major when his career went to absolute shit. Probably should have had a toggle at least once or twice in that point. But whatever. You're dealing with morons. What can you do? But that's the point. Like, Gambit's success is a mirror to Na'Vi's abject fucking failure. And it's criminal. It's criminal what they're doing. Flamey is a fucking bum. Like, he has been there cruising on the fact that he occasionally plays well, like, once every 10 maps for fucking what? How many years?
Mate, this guy is the fucking ultimate cruise king. This guy is the old fucking 60s lounge singer still on a fucking cruise with all the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Thing. And my name hit. Am I gonna
driving home for Christmas?
Here's that new song I've got, Flamey's Potential. #1 single of 2015. Like, mate, it's 2021. Like, I want to say that to the people, because, you know, by the way, I know it's one of the transferences, but in the same way as I can now stop screaming at everyone for saying FaZe Clan's 5-star aimers, which they've never been at any point in their history, but okay. In the same way, can we stop talking about how Flamey's the X Factor who's going to go off in the game? He isn't. Like, that X Factor, like, that's like algebra at this point in time. X equals, we already know. It's always underwhelming. It's underwhelming.
Mate, it's a joke. It's a fucking joke. So we're saddled with a coach who's like, right, definitely let's do a shit fake and then wait for a minute. Use all our utility on the shit fake and have none to secure the site that we're actually going to go to 1 minute later with the most obvious telegraph fake of all time.
And then the fans, by the way, it's like, it reminds me of that classic moment when they lost to fucking Ents at that kind of 8-team major 2 years ago. Because the fans still do that, Rich, where like Simple will do some mental round at the end of the game where he kills like 2 people with like no scopes. And then when he misses the 3rd guy, they're like, you got to hit those shots. You got to win.
Yeah, I know. It's like, what can I do?
I know. Like, come on.
What more do you want? No, and the thing is,
you know what I mean?
Mate, like he's. I know he's only doing it for sure. I know nobody could be as cuckold and as simple as in an interview when he comes afterwards going, "My team is playing well."
I don't think he really believes it. Come on.
Yeah, he's thinking, "Fuck these cunts." Of course he's thinking, fuck these cunts. Of course he is. Because obviously, fuck these cunts. They are holding you back, objectively, by any metric, by any measurement. But I don't even understand. Does Na'Vi have no money? Because why were you running all that game for all those years, being associated with fucking E-Force and who knows what other shady shit? Yeah. I mean, you know, I've seen Zero Gravity. Hasn't he got that massive fucking yacht? There must have been money somewhere.
Sure.
You know, Na'Vi is the org that basically was like getting money from magnates and billionaires before that was the norm in this space. So I can't believe they've not got the paper. So why is Flamey still in this fucking roster? Why is someone not buying one of these players? I mean, don't tell me you can't go to fucking Spirit and buy one of their players that are playing fucking sick. And just forget all that. Why have we just tacitly accepted that, like, Boomich is the IGL and Boomich is an IGL? He's not. He is a legacy throwback to Zeus, one of the most spiteful, wretched, fucking selfish people that have ever slimed their way through this business.
By the way, if people didn't pick up, because I feel like you didn't make it overt enough, if people didn't pick up the reference Richard meant about Zeus picking Boomich and then Alex Ferguson picking David Moyes, if people don't realise, it's quite a credible theory that because these guys are narcissists, they did on some level like the person they brought in, but they implicitly brought the person in to be like, well, it's like I said before, but I'd like to see the people who replace me at Flashpoint. The same thing. They want this guy to come in, and then because he's not them, and they know he isn't, they fail, and then everyone will sit around and go, fucking hell, that Zeus was brilliant, wasn't he? Actually, you know what? We didn't appreciate him. If they want that, they wanted that, you know?
It's so mad, and it's just got to stop now. It's got to stop, because I know Boomich is fragging out. He's the fucking IGL. It doesn't matter. You don't need fraggers on a team with Simple and Electronic. Exactly. It's the last fucking thing you need. You need a structure. You need to know what you're doing. You need to know how to take a bomb site before the fucking clock runs out, you silly cunt. It's there. It's that big fucking number up there, and you can't even do it. And so people like me, who love Na'Vi and love Simple and want him to win, we come out and we say, oh, they're definitely going to do it. 56th. Fuck you. And Astralis, they also finished 56th. This was less upsetting. I've been saying they've been about to fall off for, start of this year, it's got to be over. End of last year, it's got to be over. But
this one was beautiful, mate, because think about it. After they lost that 16-1, they also, obviously, Glaive was trying that gamesmanship of going, well, I thought we were pretty solid still. All right, well, cool then. It's not a bad tournament then. When he then got beat by VP straight up, then that's just legit then, isn't it, Glaive? So take it on the chin, pal.
Yeah, I did enjoy that. I mean, we got to talk about the Spirit result. Like the fact that it was nearly their first ever. They'd never been 16 in their history. They were saying on the broadcast at the time. I've got no idea if that's true, but
no, I believe it's true.
I can believe it.
Like, there's not many 16-0s ever anyway, so like usually you can remember. No, it's like I was saying, mate. What does it come to where that's a point of pride to celebrate that you didn't get 16-0'd? You just got 16-1. Like,
yeah,
what?
I know.
What?
I know.
Remember, when Astralis were on their peak, right? People will forget this because sadly, because they've come back to number one two times since then, people will always think that like when they were at the best last year at end of 29, was that Prime Astralis? No. Prime Astralis used to lose a map 16-14 and then smash you 16-8 on the other two maps. Like even their losses, it's like when Na'Vi loses now, they had like every excuse in the book, like, wow, we only barely lost. So like the idea that like a team that's a nobody is going to 16-0 you, like fucking hell, guys, like read the room. Like that is like one of the omens. Like that's like fucking the writing's on the wall. Yeah, like every cliche in the book, mate. The writing is on the motherfucking wall when that happens.
Yeah. It was like just crazy to me that, you know, we end up in this fucking situation where they were still trying to style it out like, oh, we haven't lost a step. It's all good. Meanwhile, by the way, you've got this Bubsky disaster that's just happening in the fucking background where that player, by the way, I know Bubsky deletes tweets at the best of time. Do notice he's deleted that one that said he's got no plans to leave or whatever, right? You know, so yeah, he's smart. He's not like Ethan. He doesn't leave those stupid incriminating tweets up. Bubsky's clever. So, you know,
reason.
yeah. I actually think he's a little memer, so I actually like him.
Sure.
I think he's smart.
He's all right.
But yeah, this is, you know, this is a farce. I mean, they're talking about using him on more maps. Well, you know, where was he here? Like, you clearly had some issues, and I just think, listen, we keep saying this Astralis team is like, you know, just got some God-given right to go and be competitive at these tournaments. It's not true at all. Like, this core's the greatest of all time. It's been together longer than almost any other core. Well, you know, it's been together longer than the NIP guys were without making replacements, I think. And
by the way, one little thing I'll say very quickly here as well. Like I alluded to it, I basically said it in my video. I was supposed to drop her on by the numbers because someone pointed this out, but I never did. Basically, yeah, Zipnix would have just been in a different team last year if the team had said yes. Wasn't on him. He'd done his part of the deal.
Yeah.
If the other team said yes, he would be in that team. So he obviously doesn't care about playing with the original five. But I know some of the original five. You see it in their interviews. They'll go up to the point there they'd have to disagree with the org, but they won't go beyond that because they're not going to disagree with the org because that's the whole point of being in the Astralis right now. You get your paper, you don't disagree with them, stock price goes up, everyone's happy, right? All happy families now. But the problem, as far as I can tell, is this. They are trying to run two games at the same time that cannot run. One game goes like this. Of course, the original five want to remain as the original five, play and get to land and be Astralis again. That's probably the whole point of still being in Astralis. Meanwhile, the org has to keep pushing the idea that Bobsky is a real player as part of their plans. And here's the information. I heard in the last couple of months, they were going out and trying to get a different Danish player to join the team. So in a world where they're doing this, both cannot exist at the same time. We're headed for another collision point where and by the way, think of what the implication there is. Why would they need another Danish player if they got Bobsky? Yeah. They've already got their sixth player. So in my opinion, combine it with bad results, because let's be real, that's one thing that will actually briefly solve your problems is if you just win all the tournaments in your top three. Now that they're back to the bad results again, now I'm very interested to see what happens in the next 3 to 4 months, because that major's still a nice little bit away, mate. We haven't even done the RMR again yet. So I feel as though like there's something very interesting could be going down in Astralis in the next few months, I think.
Yeah. So for me, it's like I heard as well behind the scenes that their contract expires this year, and I don't know if the players are going to re-up. And they're looking to explore options and maybe get like a big money move, you know, because it's like...
Wouldn't surprise me, yeah.
You know, it's the twilight of the career type thing. So that's interesting. But I mean, at the end of the day, like anybody that thinks this is an immortal Astralis and they're going to go to tournaments and they're going to like win all these tournaments and have all these deep runs, those days are over. I'm telling you, it's not happening in 2021. I think the field's too competitive. And also shame on these teams that just sort of allow it to happen. Oh, I got bloody Astralis. Oh God, they're so good. Like these guys are a shadow of themselves now. You can beat this team for sure. Like, and it really showed at this tournament. So got to see what they do to bounce back. But it won't be with no 7-man roster or any of this shenanigans. The idea they're going to be like using Bubsky more in EPL, I believe it when I fucking see it. Me, we'll wait and see. So we get to the CIS teams. Want to give some thoughts to Spirit. I did a video over at Deserto where I was talking about my dark horse picks, and I said, "Yep, Spirit, a team to watch, no doubt about it." I think these guys have been a revelation in World Counterstrike. I mean, everyone's going to talk about Gambit, everyone's going to talk about Virtus Pro. These guys, because they're the old core of the Vega Squadron team from way back when. You can't sleep on Team Spirit at all. Chopper is doing a great job as IGL. He's killing it. May has got back to the form that I always hoped he was going to do. Remember, you can probably go back 2 years, and I think we were talking about maybe May could have been somebody to replace Flamey on Na'Vi. I think that we went missing a little bit after that, but he's definitely back now. And what's actually finally happened is that golden generation, that crop of youngsters coming through, and people just reaching their potential, like Magix and Dexter. This is an unbelievably exciting team. This is like a very, well-rounded team, and I think one to watch. I mean, they've jumped up to 8th. It's a little bit artificial because they've had a 4th ranked placement at a big event, but I definitely feel that right now on current form, that they're not out of place here in the top 10 in the world.
No, the thing with them as a team is compared to the difference is I prefer the style of play of the other teams. Like Gambit, I agree. I think looks very smart. VP, I thought it was gimmicky, but listen, the other teams in the world can't figure the fucking gimmick out, so I've got to give them props. Like that just means you have a style that works and counters theirs. The thing with Spirit is, to me, Spirit are the ultimate indictment of how badly Na'Vi has either been run economically or something corrupt that allows you to not be able to get players in the CIS region. Because Spirit has all the players that you'd want to replace a Flamey or a fucking like one of these players if you need another fragger in Na'Vi. Like their team is just stacked with skilled players. Like it's why they're actually a fun team to watch, because they just hit you like a fucking brick wall. Like they just have mad aimers, and if they hit their aim, as you see online, they can fuck up any team in the world. It's actually mad exciting. I don't know that they have like the style to go much deeper. Like I think I look at a team like this, I don't know what the structure, it was the IGL, how good a job as he did. I don't know about things like that. But in terms of like raw skill, some of these players should be in a fucking team like Na'Vi, mate. They're more than good enough.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I want to talk about Liquid while we're in the 3rd to the 4th before we get to the final. Just a little bit, just to check in, because I saw a lot of people were really despondent when Liquid had that great comeback win against Na'Vi, which, by the way, it looked like they were going to lose in the most Liquid way possible ever, fucking it up, from a big lead, going to OT. It looked like it was classic Team Liquid. But actually, they held their nerve, and they were able to beat Na'Vi. And at that point, I think what's interesting is suddenly all the Liquid fans were kind of like, well, this is it now. We've definitely, we've got this in the bag. Of course, that's not true at all. I think they were always going to struggle against these CIS teams. I don't think they're there yet. Remember, still very early on with Fallen having taken over as a IGL again. And we're still implementing stuff tactically and figuring out how things work. And Stewie's changed up his role, and actually tweeted at me. I said, don't ever go back to being an IGL. And he said he won't. He said, I will. Play. He said, I won't do it ever again, just for you, he said. Because I think he realised, in that Na'Vi series, you saw a bit of old Stew again. It wasn't fragging out. It wasn't great numbers. But so many impactful kills at the right time, brave plays, bold move, So they looked a much, much better team. And I think, like people were saying, the fact they didn't make it to the final was some kind of abject failure. No, what you have to remember is the Team Liquid with twists, with the exception of the Intel Extreme Masters right at the end of 2020, they were a fucking walking wounded team. They were really, really struggling. And they couldn't have beaten a Na'Vi back then. It wouldn't even have been a contest, let alone a comeback victory for them under immense mental pressure. So yeah, I think the Liquid fans have been a little bit arrogant, I would say, a little bit aloof. I don't think Team Liquid, where they are right now in their development, should take a Virtus Pro or a Gambit as an easy, as a soft opponent. I think if you think that, you haven't been paying attention to Counter-Strike the past 18 months.
Like, to me, the problem is it's just that the lineup was the same on paper and people forget mentally, like the IGL swap. So you feel like you've seen this team play a bunch of events now. Like, no, technically it's the first event for this particular configuration. We're falling as the IGL. And the stupid thing about it was, even though I am on counterpoints, Moses also claimed that, like, you know, it wasn't the plan initially to bring Fallen in for that. Like, if that's the case, then, like, I don't know why you're even saying that, because it's like, it just makes you look incompetent as a fucking team. Like, so you brought him in not to be the IGL and just be an AWPer at an okay level and have Stewie be the, like, that doesn't even make sense to me. So I'm just going to choose to ignore that for now and just imagine this was always the plan, and for whatever reason they just transitioned him slowly instead of immediately, because this always is how it should have been. The whole reason for Fallen 2 joining Team Liquid is to bring the IGL and let everyone else just frag out, let Stewie 2K go back to being an entry or something. Like, so I think personally this is the lineup I wanted to see. It's the reason why I even said, even though in isolation I think it's bullshit that Fallen gets to sort of like fail upwards, it's just one of those rare moments where it made sense for him to be the person you gambled on. Like, it was a gamble, but I think it's a gamble worth it. So I agree with you. If this is realistically what you're starting with this team, hey, 2 months from now it could be fucking interesting. That's when he really could be in the mix to win the tournament.
Yeah. So it gets to the final. Virtus Pro versus Gambit. I was really disappointed because this should have been.
I thought it was going to be epic. Yeah.
Yeah, this should have been an unbelievable final. You've got two very different stylistic teams, but you've got some unbelievable performers. Like right now, if you're talking form, there should be no more like delectable fucking matchup than you're getting to watch Shiro and Yakindar in the same game. You're getting to see, you know, Jame and Inters, who are crazy, you know, was like overshadowed. Hobbit really teed off in this game. It should have been a great match. It should have been, you know, and across, you know, it being a best of 5 as well. Should have been so much to enjoy. But instead, Gambit just absolutely fucking wrecked Virtus Pro.
Yep.
I mean, when you consider as well, Virtus Pro, like, I mean, I just hate Vertigo. I think all Vertigo maps just lend themselves to being close by definition because there's only one bomb. It's like a fucking air rush simulator. That's all it is. It's how well you hit. It's how well your execute is each time, over and over and over again. You barely see any rounds over it. It's so bad. So the idea that like Gambit lose their pick, I just think you're always going to see close maps on Vertigo. So that's nothing. To then bounce back and basically 16-6 them, 16-4 them, 16-12 them on the next 3. Gambit are a fucking powerhouse right now. And it was sad it wasn't more competitive. I would have liked to have seen it go the distance, but I mean, what can you say? It was right now 2 form teams, but Gambit were just absolutely amazing. And Hobbit, I don't even know where the fuck he pulled this from.
Oh, it's a miracle, yeah. Like, I listen, I watched him in those years after Zeus left, and they still get the game players in Gambit together. Like, him and Adren just slowly declining and then becoming absolutely irrelevant for years was really depressing because it made you feel like, so because you win the major, that's it. Like, you don't have anything left in the game. You're just going to live off that for the rest of your career. So if people don't know, when this team was Gambit youngsters before they had Hobbit, and they basically just chucked out the guy who was actually doing pretty well and put in Hobbit, there was actually people in the CIS region who were like, this is almost like some fucked up nepotism move. Like, why are you putting him in just because he used to be a great player in your org? Like, that whole team deserved to keep going, but it's worked out. Like, whoever made that call, maybe that was the move they need. Maybe they knew Hobbit was going to be coming on track. I don't know what they could have known, but it's worked out like a motherfucker. And probably the most impressive thing of all is one of the reasons I've picked against VP so much these last few months is because when I watch them, I always think, right, these are some things that people can do that are going to make it really hard for them. And I feel like no one ever does it. It feels like the other way around. Every team always looks like they're shocked by what Gambit's doing. Like, fuck, James really in some weird off angle. Just shoot me when I come around the corner. What, your Kinder's just going to run through with no flashes? It's like, have you been watching them? And they've been doing that for months now. Now they do it different ways. I'll give them props. They reinvent what they do. But the amount of teams that just have no answer for them. So I tell you what, the idea of Gambit, just comprehensively, even the map they lost was barely fucking a loss. Like, the idea they just comprehensively shut VP down, did everything that you'd want the Navis and the Team Liquids of the world to do. And in this game, guess what? When your Kinder can't do all that amazing shit, Gambit's like VP's half as good a team. So listen, VP look amazing when their players are on their game, but I think you saw someone who actually fucking like countered them properly. Like, mad props to Gambit for whatever game plan they came in with, they executed it perfectly.
Yeah, and not just that though. I mean, like, just some of the individual performances and the level these guys are at, it really hammers home how embarrassing North American Counterstrike, was at the end of it. And actually, when you think about it, it won't be good for the game long term in terms of money in the game, maybe eyeballs, maybe viewership numbers. It won't be good for any of those things. But like these players are doing things that NA pros probably could do if they just gave a fuck. I mean, when you see like your Kindar knows every pre-firing angle, when
he's putting in mad hours, mate.
Yeah, mate. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous how good these fucking players are, and you can see they love it and enjoy it. And
he's not playing Valorant on the side, put it that way.
No, they're dedicated to their craft, and it shows. Just watch some of the smokes and flashes and coordinations that are coming out when these teams are doing executes. I mean, and then look at some of the counter utility that gets put down, and it's like, there were some rounds here where it was just it was like the highest level Counter-Strike certainly of the year, but I think that I'd seen in a while. And I'm talking about someone who regularly watches all of the top games. Like, that's not hyperbole. Go watch what these teams are doing. I am telling you, the CIS region, we've been saying it for fucking 18 months. They've got all this talent. They've got all these players. They're ready. It's just, when are they going to get a chance to prove it? Well, they've had it and they've proven it. And like I say, I think Gambit were worthy winners. And like I say, I know that they were like the bottom ranked team going into the HLTV. But why do we treat the HLTV rankings, by the way? You can only earn points if you go to events.
Yep.
It doesn't tell you anything. So,
and we live in an age where, because of the like EPT and the fucking blast invite scenario, like it's not like the old world. Like, so certain teams are essentially protected just by playing those leagues, aren't they? So we've people don't get it. Sadly, that's the one downside, I think, of the whole Flashpoint thing, Richard. People just focused on Flashpoint versus EPL, and obviously we all understand the world changed because of the lockdowns and stuff. But what people didn't notice was 2020 was actually the year that we went halfway towards like an LCS Overwatch League type world, where it doesn't matter that in this case, this is a great example. Gambit, for all we know, maybe before Katowice, Gambit was the 5th best team in the world. Maybe they were. But if they were, guess what? If they hadn't have qualified, we'd never have seen it. They wouldn't be in the league. So that's one thing I do worry about going forwards, is like some of these old dogs, part of why they can just stay on top is once you're into those leagues, that's a business agreement. It ain't about how good your team is. You have to be really bad to get kicked out. So I do have my concerns that I hope there's still enough slots for these teams that are actually legit good to just force their way in and win.
Right. Roster moves. Let's get to OG.
Can I just quickly get a drink of water?
Oh, yeah. Go for it, bro.
Since we're all probably going to have at least half an hour.
Right. Well, this is actually a good segment for this, Sam. Yeah. Do your thing, Dunk. Bring this up on stream right now.
All right.
Right now, I want this on record for the stream, not the VOD.
You know, is this Lazio again? Are we back to Lazio?
We're back to Lazio. I just want to read this. I just want to read this.
All right.
Right. So, in 99, Lazio offered Fiorentina 80 billion lira, around 41 million euros, which would have been at that time the second highest transfer amount after Christian Vieri to Inter for 46.5 million. But they said, right, and Roma had gone on record saying we won't pay more than 30 billion. It's there in black and white. Even the headline, so you need to read Roma, Lazio, and Inter fought for Batistuta.
How's this what's being referenced? I know. There we go.
Just, why would you correct me?
And by the way, I will just say as well, listen, nowadays in the modern day, right, they sadly do that move, Rich, where they don't hire like good actors for biopics. They just get the actor that looks the most like you, right? All I'm saying is pull that picture up now. If fucking motherfucking Kevin Sorbo isn't playing this cunt in his biopic, I don't even know what Hollywood casting's doing at this point in time. Because look at it. It just is Kevin Sorbo out with fucking Hercules, isn't it? But just banging in goals.
Hell of a shout. Hell of a shout. Anyway, I just wanted it on the record for the stream, and since this Duncan was up and about. Right, so let's get to it. OG. I did a tweet as well, which once again just made me lose all faith. But there's just no point in being here. It's, I have built an industry for morons. The morons are taking over. It's their toy now. You wasted your life, Richard, for morons. How does it feel? But I'm going to just show you this tweet, right? And it was a very simple one. I said, which player would you cut? Okay? And I don't know if you saw this tweet.
No, I haven't seen this one. What is it?
Right, here you go. I'll put it there. And it's two pictures. And it's performance graphs from HLTV. And you'll see one that starts in 2012 with a peak of about 120. And it spans right the way to the present day where it ends about 0.98. And then you'll see another one, which is all over the place. It's like Michael J. Fox trying to sign a check.
Beyond a certain date in his life, obviously. But that's in square brackets.
It's a mess. So 1 minute he's up to 150. The next minute he's down to 0.8. Whatever.
What cryptocurrency is this graph for?
Mate, I'll tell you what, by the way. I've got mates who the fucking crypto market. Like, I'm like, don't tell me about that because I think you're a fucking moron.
Yeah.
It's just it's the most easily, like, if a fucking tweet from Elon Musk can, like, what you think's going on behind, you're all morons, whatever. So anyway, the premise was, which one would you cut? And I didn't even bother arguing with people. But the amount
people can't guess. Listen, obviously we haven't discussed this. It's obvious. What you're supposed to say is he's supposed to say the right-hand one because, look, he fell off a fucking cliff in his career. He's nowhere near whatever role he used to do. The one on the left gradually declined, but looks like he probably understands his role. You have some consistency. Now, I know every idiot probably just because they can probably already tell that the right one must be a star player or something. They were like, I'd take the one on the right because the number was higher at the top or something. So
literally, the argument from the morons was, if you ask me, that guy on the left has been playing a long time and is only going down. The guy on the right has proven he can hit heights 3 fucking years ago, by the way. You bellends.
I know.
Right? So I would keep him and hope he gets back there. Ha ha.
Just for no reason, just goes back in time to June 2017 form. Just for no reason.
Listen. It's all right, because I did see some people get it wrong. I like. Live and let live.
Who's this, Dust? Fucking someone else in that group?
Nah, Dust was too busy getting wrecked again over in.
He was probably
Valorant.
too busy going, you won't believe this. There's also other children's video games won't hire me. Oh, here's more disc golf.
Don't diss the disc golf. I'm all in on the disc golf.
Listen,
boom.
It's the only thing he's got in his life, so I support the disc golf.
Right. Do you want to, while we're just here talking about Dust on disc golf, do you want to just play this, Sam?
Come on.
Yeah, what is this, mate?
3, 2, 1.
Hang on. All right.
Mate, by the way, I know you guys know about this, so I might turn out looking like a boomer, but I'm going to say it anyway. Yeah. Right? One of those like Rainbow Six players posted a clip the other day, right? You know, obviously we all know that farming simulators exist and stuff, right? And they play it like an esport, right? Am I just such a boomer? I'm the only one who didn't know this. That when they play the farming simulator competitively, this is not a joke. They ban out like vehicles, like maps.
Yeah.
So they're like, I banned your combat harvesters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, I thought this was like a parody or something when I was watching it. It was real. They're like, oh, he's coming in with he's took out the John Deere or whatever. Like,
yeah.
He's vetoed the combine.
Because the sad thing about it was this, guys. We're all going to laugh now because we don't follow that sport. But you have to understand that is still what it looks like when some real world person finds out what esports is and they pull up the screen. Course. They're just looking at us. That's us. We're the daft cunts like, oh, I disagree. I think you should have gone with the plowman straw. Like, fucking, like, we look, that's us. We're the fucking losers. We're the fucking weeb furry cunt. Just like, it's a lifestyle. Like, that's us. That's who we are now. We've become that.
No, it's not true. You take that back. You take that back, Duncan. We're not like them. Anyway,
for dummy thickness.
Come on.
Oh, you can just play that anyway. Fucking just play it. You don't even
play
need 3, 2, 1 it. It's just stupid. Someone just made a fucking video of Dust with a fake big ass because he has got a massive ass. That's it, basically.
Damn, boy!
Yeah.
What the fuck is this?
I don't know.
Why has he done that though?
Someone just on the Discord just made that. I don't even know. But anyway, I'm loving the fact that Dust is, getting on with golf and all that. I'm loving it. It's good for him. It's good. It's good that he gets out there,
Why has he got a fucking nerd face, short waisted, a big bass, or whatever the fuck that? I don't know, the TikTok main voice, whatever.
So anyway, OG finally made roster changes. We said we want to have an intervention. You've got to make a cut. You and me, obviously, because we're not insane, we realise it's got to be Issa. One of the maddest things, I think, Was it Alexi B went on a podcast? Yeah, he went on the HLTV one recently, and he basically said like, "This is the best team," the usual fucking spiel. Yeah. And it's like, listen, he might be a super cool guy, but they were going, and he can't show his level right now because it's all online, and he has 90 ping. All the more reason to bench him.
I know exactly what a mad angle that is.
All the more reason. What? So what? You're gonna cut a tenured player from the team. Now, also, I'll just say this, and I'm hoping to book an interview with Nathan soon, because obviously I'll go way back with him. But I'll also just say it was kind of intimated that maybe he was talking about being IGL again, and that is his fucking.
Oh, he's also come out now and said it. I think he said in his tweet longer that he wants to do that role. I think it's his time, which is like. Yeah. That is it. Listen, that's another well we've circled back to many times now, haven't we?
I know. I've said it so many times, I just don't think he can do it. But, it's like, because at the end of the day, even if you have the smarts and even if you have the leadership qualities and the communication skills, people have to still believe in you. And, that's like a big part of the fucking IGL paradigm. So, anyway, whatever. So, I just couldn't believe this. Like, you've literally said he's a nice guy. They even set it up like they were going to fuck. It was pure wrestling. They even set it up like it was going to be, it's just the way I respect you, Rick. And they go to shake hands, and then it's like, straight will fucking stunner, mate. That's what they've done to MBK. They were like, yeah, this is just a great guy, and it's going to suck if he's not around. And he is playing on 90 ping, and that's why we're going to cut MBK. What the fuck? Am I taking crazy pills? So they got rid of their support player, and you're like, all right, mate. Well, who the fuck are they going to bring in, right, to replace him as a support player? This is how I know Rugger must be making some decisions. So, Nico from Heroic.
Listen, I don't claim to have any inside info about the economics of OG, but I have speculated the whole time. I don't think they're an org that wants to spend money. If this move doesn't tell you that, in a world where there's all those massive name free agents that cost nothing, zero buyout, you're going for the Nico that for the millionth time we have to explain is not the really good one from Bosnia. It's the one that used to be with MSL briefly, when like, fucking hell, just the intro alone tells you, why is this the guy I'm replacing him with? Like, mate, we're even in a world where, again, there's a bazillion, everyone in the world who wants a good Danish player can just go to Mad Lions with a 50 pence piece and get one now. There's just a limited supply left at this point in time, but they've still got the odd one. Like, but you're picking up Nico, by the way, 3 years odd after he won, 2.5 after he won that fucking massive tournament miraculously. Like, this is ridiculous. It's beggars belief, doesn't it? Like, that's the upgrade. Nico for MBK.
I mean, I'll say this. Like, I've been obviously, like, I know Heroic have had a slight downturn, but they've definitely been better than I thought they were going to be. In particular, Cadian, by the way, who's been on great form, and they're a very solid team and very competitive. And I know they've had to make some changes lately, but like, come on, man,
you're picking up their leftovers.
It's not even that. Just think about roles. Just think about what Nico. Think about what MBK does.
He even could have done Issa's role, in my opinion. Isn't Nico supposed to be a fucking MVP?
That's what I mean. If you could, if you cut Issa and get Nico, it kind of makes sense. I won't lie. I'm still a little bit underwhelmed, but like, you've took the supportive glue out of the fucking team, and you're putting in a player that don't do that. So. Also,
and by the way, I'm just telling you right now, maybe he's a nice guy, but Issa is not the glue guy in the team, except for the fact that if he was at a crafts table, that is what he would eat first.
That's pretty good. Not bad. But like, listen, like, go look at what happened to them today. I was catching the games because obviously I've been watching Cloud9. They're playing at the moment while we're recording this. Things not looking too great.
Just another day in paradise.
Another day in paradise for my old chum Henry. But anyway, go look at what happened to them today. They lost to those Bulgarians. Well, first of all, they got.
By the way, as an aside, this is how I know no one in the scene actually has skills or fucking innovation or like inspiration. Here's what you do. How has no one figured this joke out? If you think Cloud9 sucks or you want a meme on them, what you do is you get a video, right? And it starts, and those videos where you show like, the HLTV announcement, Instead of doing like, when I'm Cloud9, you all know the main format. What you do is this one. You have the fucking thing where it's all of Henry G's commentary, and you just take his commentary sound bites and you fit it to what happens. So you show that like, Sign Woxic. Oh, what a blunder. Oh, what has he done that for, Matt? Like, you just get all those quotes, you just show behind it, like, you know, the fucking result. And then it's like them losing to OG, and it's like, oh, what has he done? Right, just at the last second. Like, you just take his best clip, and that'll be pure banter. Now, I will say, it will really hurt Henry's feelings. It probably make him question.
Wrecking Friends, a new series with Duncan
Thoughts for how to make friends. Suicidally depressed.
So, here's the thing, right? Like, did you see the complexity game they played today?
I didn't watch the one today, though. Was it bad?
16-3, 16-5. Right? And it's not that Nico's, like, not fragged or not playing bad. They got absolutely fucking abused, mate. It's like, we weren't even, like, watching the same team. And it's like, sure, okay, again, he's a stand-in. You know, we need to do some work. MBK must have been fucking howling, mate. He must have been absolutely howling. Well, after. Because then it's like, okay, well, you know, that's complexity. Yeah, they did get us, not going to lie, right? But, you know, prior to that, they weren't exactly convincing against Nordovin. It was all right, whatever. But then, mate, they play those fucking washed-up Bulgarians. That literally, does this happens? Because the original meme lords. And they lose. They lose 2-1, and they lost with Valda playing fucking lights out, mate. They lost. Valda dropped something like 75 fucking kills across 3 maps. Like, he tweeted out, I'll just have to find you this tweet, because it'll just show you how unreasonable the average esports moron actually is. Valda, by the way, like, again, one of the best all-round players.
He's done at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, mate. Look at this little sympathy. Check it, Sam, in case, because people do post unreasonable shit. So just in case, like, there's like a vampire naked with his knob out or whatever, you know, right? But no, there isn't. I can't see any knobs. I think we're safe for knobs. But anyway, just look at this. He's like just done a little sad Kermit the Frog, saying, "I'm sad that we got knocked out by the Bulgarians." Look at that. Go retire. You are useless bot. How are you a paid professional? You know. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. I also do like that one. Nice try, bro. I was cheering for the rival team, but you played good.
Oh, mate, all you need to know is I just clicked on the profile of the guy who said, like, how are you guys paid professionals? Right? Profile picture, SpongeBob meme. And then when you go to his profile, unironically, the header is fucking, like, I can't even tell what team it is, but it's like it's fucking E United from, like, COD winning some title. Like, mate... You're not in CS. Get the fuck out.
Yeah, he's probably had a bet. Deeply sad. But anyway, so listen, you've made the wrong choice. Like, far be it from me to say, like, you know, because I've done nothing but sing Alexi B's. This was not the play for me. Not for me. Not for me. They should have benched Issa, even with a long-term view potentially to bringing him back and cutting MBK, by the way.
Yep,
but in the short term, this move is absolutely fucking disastrous.
I just tanked the team, mate.
Yep. I'm with you. I don't see how they can pull out of this nosedive now. And the thing is, as well, like, because Nico isn't the answer, like.
They'll just blame him now, and then it'll be a fucking revolving door.
Revolving door, CS, the classic. So, nightmare. Right. I think. Oh, yeah. We're ready. It's time. It's time for Smooya.
Come on, then.
It's time. So, Smooya was playing a game, also in this qualifiers for DreamHack. And basically, he decided in a game, playing for the Spanish team, Movistar Riders. I always get their name wrong. People say I pronounce it wrong. Apparently, it's not Movie Star. It would be way cooler if it was. But anyway, they were playing in the DreamHack qualifiers, and they had a very bad time on one of their maps. And he disconnected from the game before it had finished, only for his teammate, Mopoz, a very decent player who's probably second, honestly, in this team behind Smooya in terms of productivity. And they were, you know, they were playing against that Nordovin team, which is like HS, Mertz, Tensky, those guys.
Yeah.
You remember them? Anyway. He made the clutch 1v3. Smooya had to come back on the server. They had to pause the game, and he came back on, and they won in overtime. He then did a tweet where he said, my PC crashed.
Why? Just take him on the chin once. Just once.
They never do. They never do. He did a tweet saying, my PC crashed. But then, if you go into the demo, which people did, he types GGWP.
You know what? He had one of those weird crashes where it just types "good game, well played" and then disconnects you from the server.
Right. So he typed GG. So anyway, he had to come out.
Why is everyone such a ridiculous bastard in this industry, mate? People are actually on some like shaggy, like it wasn't me level shit.
Mate, like literally, but they got you on camera. Like they have
GG, well Pete.
Yeah, GGWP. So anyway. He then puts himself in this mad position where he has to come out and apologise for doing it, but also for tweeting out, which he says, I thought it would be clear to everyone it was a joke. 100% wasn't a joke. So here's the thing. He's not going to be the last player that does this.
No.
But let's not try and fucking jazz it up. What a massively disrespectful thing to do to your teammates. You are essentially saying, right?
Oh, well, I'm dead. This game's over. I'm out.
You guys are dog shit. You guys are dog shit and can't clutch out a game. So fuck you. And then it happened. Now I want you to imagine a world, Duncan, like I do, where let's say there was rules against that. They could have been docked rounds. By the way,
probably should be.
Yeah. By the way, they had to pause the game so he could come back in, right? Which they were allowed to do. But I bet if I went through the fucking DreamHack handbook, there'd probably be a rule against disconnecting ahead of time, not waiting for a match.
Maybe just even sportsmanship. You know, there's always the like vague clause. You know, we're not allowed to bring the game into disrepute because, as you say, he basically sort of like disrespected the actual match itself by just leaving like that. It's only 30 seconds more. For fuck's sake, you know.
Yeah, like exactly. It's so pathetic. So anyway, like I wasn't one to like. I don't want to drive hate at him or whatever, or at least I didn't. But now,
what sort of mad segue is that?
he's made the fatal error.
True. Okay.
Don't ever fucking lie about me in public. Like,
here we go. What's he done?
Do it.
Has he done the classic of going back to the story you're saying he said he cheated about 4 years ago or something mad?
Yeah. Of course he has.
You definitely never said that because if people don't know, one thing me and Richard for a long time ago established is we can call you cheaters in the sense of we can say it is implied, but we have never ever factually called anyone a cheater because we do not have the evidence to prove you cheated. If you can't tell that distinction, you're a moron.
No, but this is his problem. I'll get into it. What happened was he for years has held this weird fucked up grudge. There's a site called like UKCSGOnews.com. It's like it used to be run by the Recent Gaming guys.
Okay.
And it's not, the article's not even there, I don't think, anymore. And some journalist wrote an article because they'd been sent like there was this Steam account and it had all the same aliases and all that, and it had a VAC ban, right? And so, unbeknownst to the journalist, this had all been checked out by Faceit when he went into FPL or whatever. So I tweeted out, right, which obviously draws attention to the report. I just tweeted out saying I got sent all of that shit like months ago, but didn't publish it. That was all I said. And in his mind, that was, I think you're a cheat. Now, you see, the problem with Smoothie's mind is it is fundamentally and irreparably broken because he has chronic problems that he will never defeat. And he's going to piss away his entire career, as evidenced by this. Because, you know, we hear all the time, I'm working on being a better person. You fucking hate your teammates, you cunt, don't you? It's all about you. It'll always be about you. But now we're going to get to some home truths because you're fucking telling people that I said all of this stuff. I'll show you the tweet, right? And then I'm going to give you a dose of fucking reality here. Because I think you need to realize, like, people will just make up narratives about me and the way I behave and the things that I supposedly do, right? But let's have a look at your good boy, Little Owen, shall we? So this is what he tweeted out today. He said, it's Richard Lewis, as always, the same person who claimed I was cheating, then removed everything. So I've apparently scrubbed everything off the internet. There's not one screenshot of me doing it, not one archive. In the modern era, somehow I've said something on the internet on my Twitter account and got away with it, have I? Hates me till the day because of it. Just pathetic, to be honest. So let's analyse that. Because that happened in 2016.
Right? I guess that should be right, yeah.
Yeah, that happened in 2016. Oh, I know, because I looked, because I told you I've been getting the receipts. So let me just take you to 2017. In 2017, this guy had the problems with Epsilon, right? Remember that? When he had all that contract situation and whatnot. So who were the guys, by the way, that tried to help him when he was having this problem in Epsilon? Which, by the way, do you know what the problem was in Epsilon? He's a moron, and he signed a shit contract.
I remember this. Yeah.
And that's all that there was to it. For those who don't know, Epsilon was just some shitty bedroom organization that used to routinely skank its players for banter. Like, it would just sign you on these mad contracts where it was like, yeah, you get your money unless you're benched, then you don't. PS, we can bench you at any time. Or also, your buyout's fucking massive. Buyout is whatever it costs for me to put a fucking patio on the side of my 2 up, 2 down. So, that's kind of all they were running. So when that went down, he was so ass-pinned over the thing that never happened, he wouldn't even take my help. So we all had to do it like kind of through proxies. So I was talking to Red Eye. Red Eye was the guy who helped him, right? I think it was Anna Bauman, might have been the lawyer as well. We were like legitimately, I was even like, I'll fucking torch Epsilon. We'll write all about it. I think I put some tweets out there. So I'm still trying to help this cunt. Then check this out. Do you remember in 2018? When he had the good run and he made the final of Cologne.
Oh no, that was when I remember he like straight up dissed you on Twitter or something, didn't he? Stupid like.
Yeah, well, here we go. Let's have a look at that DM. Bring it up if you want, Sam. I've just put it in the chat. Right? So remember, this is 2 years after he publicly lied about me and said I called him a cheat, which didn't happen, and as a result, there is no evidence of it. Right? This is after I tried to help him with the contract thing. And rallied all the troops to make sure he did, even though the only problem was, because he deleted all the tweets, he was that ashamed. I'll show you actually, because he deleted the tweets, but he's not even smart enough to have deleted the twitlongers, because he's an absolute medical cretin. So there's the twitlonger as well when you bring it up. But let's just have a look at this DM first, right? July 7th, 2018. Well played. That's me in the blue. Well played. Hope you can bring the final home. Talking about Cologne. Fuck you, is the response I got, right? I don't even take the bait, don't even argue with him. Well, enjoy it all the same, you've earned it. Don't speak to me now because of a final, haha. What the fuck? Keep in mind, already tried to help this cunt with the contract prior to this, after the cheating incident, which I never said he cheated anyway, right? I never wrote the article, right? I don't give a fuck, right? It would never have made any difference whether you got to the final or not. You play well this tournament. I unblocked you a while ago, but you didn't notice. No worries anyway. Best of luck tomorrow. Ruffle okay. Right? So I think I've been perfectly nice and perfectly civil. Right? I don't think you can be more civil than that. That is like the equivalent of extending a hand and someone spitting in your face.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? And this guy is just a serial liar, manipulator, fucking piece of shit chav. And it's just enough's enough, like, I'm not fucking having this daft cunt try and make out he's the victim every time. He wrote a self-pitying fucking twitlonger about, like, which we'll get to the twitlonger he fucking wrote, by the way, about why I'm just a good guy and people hate me and it's okay to hate me, it's all your fault. You disrespected your teammates actively because it's all about you. And we know how the story ends, by the way, don't we, Owen? Let me tell you how it ends. Right? It ends with you leaving that team, first good offer you get, because you're so deluded. You think your brain won't capsize your career. You think you're still going to be capable of actually having a real career that you will not self-sabotage on. Because you need a fucking intervention, but no one likes you enough to give it to you. So, look at that. Back in the day when he was talking about, I need to get out of this contract to help my mum. Please, won't someone think of my mum? If I'm on the bench, I don't make enough money. We all fucking rallied round to help you out, and this is how you fucking behave. It's fucking embarrassing, mate. Like, the bottom line is, if you're going to be out there saying things that objectively didn't happen, right, and then trying to play victim, right, anybody who stands with this cunt, by the way, is a fucking absolute idiot because he's got no respect for you. All he does is leverage his fans. Now I want to show you the difference in response.
Also, by the way, when he says that, proven wrong, simple. Okay, then produce the proof.
Yeah.
Go on, then let's see it. Then let's see the proof because there's no proof that what Richard said was wrong. Of course not. You didn't say anything.
Yeah. So here he goes, right? Here he goes, right? Look at some of the replies under there, leaving the match when it ended. Everyone like, I support you, I forgive you, I love you. Playing the victim like the fucking little chav that you are, right? But here's the reality. People aren't even consistent in this dog shit scene with all the dog shit fucking fans that we got. Go look at what happened, right? Do you remember when Cadian, right, surrendered? He typed killing console. Do you remember that? It's like 4 years ago.
Okay.
Here you go. So all the people sucking off this guy who literally quit a match, could have literally cost this team a qualifier for DreamHack.
Okay.
Right? This guy who, because he was having a tantrum, had to disrespect this team, potentially get them disqualified, docked rounds, whatever, certainly had to rely on the good graces of the opponents to allow a pause, get him back on and all of that. Well, go look what happened when fucking Cadian typed killing console and surrendered. And just read some of the hate and vitriol. I've never seen a team so tilted. Seems like he didn't want to play. This is so unprofessional and salty. They deserve the loss. This is kind of pathetic. You must play games out no matter what, no matter how bad things are. And I've had all of the fucking guys. By the way, the Movie Star Rider guys are legit. His teammates are better teammates to him than he is to them. Because they all came out and said, oh, we're trying to teach him how to be a better teammate. He was upset. He just, you know, he got the better of him in the moment. You're just a fucking piece of shit at this time. And actually, I'm glad I get to watch you fucking scorch your own career. You're already playing at a team that is like tier fucking 3, essentially, right? Because when you could have been in a top team, but you left a team just before a major. Fucked them up, fucked your entire career up in the process. And I think it's brilliant. I've said for years that you deserve a second chance, so much you take the risk. You need a big brother. Nah, you don't, mate. You're just delusional. And it's actually fitting that you're just going to fuck yourself up. I think it's brilliant. I'll be watching, mate, while you're playing in Tier 4 CS next year. Fucking don't lie about me, son. I've extended a hand that you didn't deserve multiple times. I hope you get skanked on the next contract as well.
It's also, by the way, definitely not some mad conspiracy that people are holding things against you that you did when you were 18. No. We hold things against that you keep doing now. Like, the thing with someone like you, Smoothie, is nobody needs to say a single thing about you or your career to fuck it up. You'll do it yourself, you daft cunt. You're one of those people like Reginald from TSM, where it's like, you know what? Let him speak. The way you destroy a motherfucker like that is just give him a microphone. Let him just spill out their brains into the world, and everyone listening who's not a moron goes, get me the fuck away from working with an idiot like that. Like, remember, it was last year where he told fucking Refresh to kill himself in a Faceit game.
Yeah.
Like, how you can't keep saying it stuff from years ago, mate. Like, it never stops. So you create the scenario where this happens. And then, and if you haven't learned this, you'll never learn this. Once you've done the fuck up, it's your response to it. Like, what's funny is, even though I don't believe it at all, like Richard says, you did all these apologies about this case, but then you had to try and call Richard out. You couldn't go and just take, with the humility, the L. You had to try at the end, which is the thing I hate the most in esports. And at the end go, well, I don't want all the drama to be about me. So can we flip it so that I'm the victim for a moment and make it about someone else?
Yep.
What?
And like I say, I think we're long overdue, because the way people fawn over this fucking pathetic specimen.
You'd think he was simple or something, mate. Like, that's the problem I always thought. It's like, Smoothie, you aren't talented enough to be this much of an arsehole, mate. You've got to be a Nico Simple level motherfucker to do this.
Put it this way, like, Simple definitely had his transgressions. There's a compelling argument to be made for, like, does he deserve to even be here? You know,
certainly, yeah.
You know, the ESL cheating ban, stole skins off his fans. You know,
some
like
really unethical shit.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like, beyond the pale. But like you say, with Smoothie, you know what? You're telling someone to kill himself, like, on a stream. You felt absolutely comfortable doing that. It's madness, and it's like, let's not make out these things ancient history. And they keep happening, and they keep happening because you've got a fucking imbalance, mate. You shouldn't be worried about the things I objectively didn't say. You should be worried why your brain is telling you I said them. Like, so I think we need to have a little visit of your career and put it in context. Good luck ever getting on a serious org, by the way. Everyone who's ever played with you all says you're a cunt. Yep. And behind the scenes, they say you're a cunt. And they even feel comfortable saying publicly you're a cunt. You had a great chance in Chaos. You fucked that up, right? Even Steele came out and said, oh, it's not his talent holding him back, implying you have a massive personality defect, which you fucking do. And it's like, you know what? I was saddened at the idea of seeing, like, I don't like seeing talent go to waste. Enough's enough, mate. You're so fucking deluded telling these lies. And like,
By the way, I also had a similar thing to you, which is I'm almost certain, I'd have to check the exact logs on this, but either at that event, the same one, the Cologne event, or right after, I also did a similar thing where like there's some Twitter where he said something and I just tweeted someone like, oh, good job or whatever. He did the same thing, like I had to be like, fuck you. Like, all right, mate. Like you want to be someone in this game, like just fucking settle down. Settle down.
Nah, like I say, mate. Fucking, I guarantee as well, if I go fishing, fuck knows what I'll find. He's too much of a daft cunt to even have been in his tracks if he's done anything vaguely nefarious. And he's also too much of a cunt to have not done it. So, fuck him. It's beyond the pale. And like I say, if you're one of the guys, like, fawning over him and going, we all make mistakes, and you ripped on fucking Katie and we must always fight to the end. This guy gave up on his own team. He didn't give up on himself in an impossible 1v5 situation. He gave up on his teammates. So fuck that. It's a joke. Right. Questions? I'm sure we've missed out some other stuff. We'll get to it next time. I know it's been a long one. We'll clatter through these for the epic 3-hour fucking podcast extraordinaire. Right. For those who don't know, if you pay $50 or more, you get to ask us a question. It could be about anything. We talked about EG at the start, mate. By the way, again, Sarvati, you seem to be labouring under the delusion it's a fucking jukebox, mate. It's not you put a pound in, right? Because you've got my head next to your name, you get to pick a topic. You want to ask a question? Pony up the $50 fucking dollars. Fuck's sake, the outrageous rudeness of it. First sock. With a huge amount of hype originally generated around Zion Williamson before he joined the NBA, this is definitely a you question. Right. How do you think he's bedded in so far in his admittedly short tenure? How does he compare to a rookie LeBron, the person many a fan was saying he could be great a player as?
Put it this way, they did definitely overhype him coming in because the problem is, it's the same as the NFL if you don't follow the NBA. Like, whoever the number one pick is when they've done really good in college, they always want to make it like it's the next best player, whoever played the game. So whenever you do that, obviously you're going to fail almost every single time. Like, it's never going to live up to that. With that said, he did look very promising coming in. I think actually he has been pretty fucking banging. The problem is, like, again, they picked a stupid person to compare him to. You can't compare him to LeBron. Like, LeBron was just obviously a transcendent talent, even at the very beginning of coming into the NBA. Like, he's one of those ones where it was just obvious. The Zion Williamson one's more like, he looks like he's going to be an elite player for the next 10, 15 years. Yeah, but like, mate, I'll wait a bit before I get to the, like put it this way, that already triggers me because it reminds me at Katowice where as every single different fucking CIS team would take their turn to win, I was being told like, Dexter's the next simple. No, wait. I mean, Shiro's the next simple. See, I think it's fucking, it's like, there's not even good, the idea you get one simple is mental. There's not like 4 next simples, you daft cunt. Like, all that is you're so bad at coming up with fucking angles, you've gone for the ultimate hyperbole. Pick a reasonable hyperbole. Like, just, how about, let's say he's the next great power forward, something like that. Like, that's reasonable. Oh, he's the next great CIS player. Even that, by the way, is slightly pushing the boat out, but you're somewhat closer. Like, you don't have to use exaggeration to make your point in that case. So, whatever. Like, there we go. I think it's a fairly decent breakdown. He's a very good player. Certainly, he's lived up to potential so far. Pretty exciting future. It's just that no one's going to beat LeBron, mate. That's just a silly comparison people make.
Yeah. I could have signed for Roma, I heard. Anyway, Alice.
Lazio it was.
Oh, it was.
There you go, Lazio.
Alice asks, although it's not April Fool's Day yet, I'm just curious as to the biggest prank you've ever personally seen or been on the receiving end that you couldn't get over. I mean, so when I lived in my house with all the drugged up crazies, that was like intense because I mean there was like we used to do all sorts to each other, mate. Like blue tacking, we'd take like blue tack and take a fistful of pubes and put it into the blue tack and pin it to the bottom of your cup so you'd be drinking your tea. You get to the bottom, and there they are, curly clock springs of that. So that was a fucking nightmare, mate. It was like living in it was a fucking nightmare. Dead flies off the windowsill. There you go, put that in your coffee, all sorts of shit. One time, right, it is the worst thing I've ever seen. Like, this was unbelievable. We used to know this guy called Digger. And we called him like he had massive hands and he was thick. Like he was just one of them big Welsh boys from the valleys. Like,
right,
just you know how it is. Like, and he had massive hands, and that's why we called him Digger. I can't even remember his real name, but irrelevant, really. So there was, but he loved to get stoned, And so what we did is we made this joint, right? And we put, I don't know, weed and that in the top, like you're making a proper joint. and then we took a whole dead bee. Right, a whole dead bee we found. Put that after the bit, and then put the rest. Like, just put it on. We smoked it. Like, oh yeah, you're right, Diggy. How you doing? Smoked this joint and then passed it to him. And mate, I was watching this cunt. We used to wreck him all the time with that stuff. He was smoking like that. You could see this bee's head just smouldering. And he's going like retching on himself while he's trying to choke down this like hit of a fucking bee. The worst one we did, right? We filled up a bong. This is absolutely outrageous. This is just near lethal shit. We filled up a bong, like we were doing normal bong hits, and we filled up sawdust, mate. Just pure fucking sawdust to the lungs, like just burning wood, like just inhaling wood smoke, like spewed on himself. He used to wreck him all the time. So like,
it's a bit harsh.
Yeah. Oh, it was bad. Like, it was bad. It was bad. It was just he was just. We always had. There was always a pecking order, and fortunately for me, I was high up enough. I never got to the bottom. But like when you know what would happen is they'd stop hanging around with you because it was just too much, you know.
Of course, yeah.
And then we go and get someone else. Like I told you. I told you about how I fucking Reese challenged me to that drugs contest. It was who could have the most drugs, and we had like, I don't know, we stayed up for 2 days, 400 mushrooms, coke, pills, like everything, right? And he was just, you know, we were just locked into this battle of who was going to go to bed first or whatever. I was wrecking him. Like I've told this on stream all the time. What he was sweating and blinking like he'd gone into the future. He was fucked. And I would just drop things in the middle of the sentence, like, you know, yeah. Anyway, I'm just going to go get a cup of chest pains and just like get up like that. And I was just trying to slip into his subconscious that his heart was going to go or something. He was just going to pop. So like just to make him spin out. So I'd win.
What are you freaking out about? Because we all want to kill you. I mean, we all want to see you.
I would just do it. I would just
want to see you.
Fully doing shit like that and just going. Anyway, yeah. What, do you want to give him a massive heart failure? Just like it was absolutely. It was so bad. It was so bad. Some of the shit that went on in that house. It was absolutely outrageous.
Here's the thing. You've actually sort of backed into my area because here's the thing. I personally hate fucking pranks like that. And you know my personality. Yeah. Like someone did that to me, by the way. I would literally like that would be like a blood feud till the end of time. Like, I don't care if they were a mate of mine. Like, they know just don't fuck with me in that level. So 2 things. One is I could go with the physical angle, which is very quick, Richard, which is the reason I never, ever was a part of UK esports. Is because in the early days, I tried going to some of the LANs. And when you would go to LANs like iPlay, like fucking multiplayer rather, where it's iSeries, etc., right? These LANs in the UK were some of the most unacceptable shit I have ever seen done outside. Because if you go to DreamHack in Sweden, right, the worst case scenario, what they're thinking is outrageous behavior is like people are making out behind the fucking room or whatever. Like, oh my God, a kid who's underage drank 1 beer. Like, that's the Swedes' idea of like outrageous behavior. At the UK lands, I'm not joking, they would do pranks on their own teammates. Like when the guy's out the room, just take his toothbrush and put it up your ass and shove it around a bit and then just bring it back and then just watch him just brush his teeth with it. So when I saw stuff like that, I was like, you know what? If there's literally not even any honor among fucking thieves, I'm not fucking hanging around with this shit and wondering if someone's put my fucking tip. Like, I ain't playing that. So I could go with the physical one, it's disgusting, but Richard's actually backed into the one that I really hate the most, which is when people fuck with you when you're on like psychedelic drugs. And I've seen some ones with that are fucking mental. Like I've seen people, no joke, where it's like they've just made the mistake of doing like loads of mushrooms with people where it's like you're the bottom dog in the fucking pecking order and it's only going to come out in that scenario, isn't it? So they're all just doing mad shit to you like that, just doing stuff like walking in the room and agreeing to just pretend to be talking backwards like you don't want a cup of coffee? Like just gaslighting you while you're actually on psychedelic drugs. Mad vulnerable, by the way, imprinting stuff and then just doing mad shit like coming in the room and then all just dropping hints so that they're going to have, you know, like a fucking the Satanists are coming to kill you at the end of the night and you're the ritual sacrificing. I'm talking, I've seen like, mate, out in those scenarios, even if it wasn't me, I was like, fuck this. Fuck everything about this.
The difference about that house was like, I mean, like, you know, everybody knew, like, we were all locked in.
Oh, right. Like, it was like some jackass shit. Right. Fair enough.
Yeah, kind of.
That's not as bad then. If it's understood, it's like the,
But like, to be fair, the guy I was talking about who wanted the drug off, he was a guy who fucking just lived in a separate village. Like, he just used to come and visit. So he was someone's
just came
cousin
down for a drug off, like.
Yeah. So no, but he was one of them, mate. He was slightly older, so he'd always be chopsing on about, I can do it to me, and you know, and I'd be like, nah, fuck up, no way. I've got the constitution for this. So I took him to school. But yeah, I employ a bit of like psychological warfare to guarantee the win. Did win, like. He span out frying some eggs and had to go to bed.
Because he probably looked at him and went, "Fuck, these are my drugs, my brain on drugs." I fucked up the joke there. Would have been a good one. Boomerang.
Sorry, whatever. So next one, Chingu. Throughout the history of CS, which nationality has had the most success in terms of trophies? I guess that means all versions. Sweden, I'd say.
Sweden.
Are you taking an early CSGO, all of the era?
Must be number one, surely.
Yeah, I mean, somebody could probably look that up statistically. So, sorry, Chingu, it's a fairly simple question with one answer. Sweden, I don't even know would be close, actually. I'm skipping the Res Chi one. Sorry, mate. We'll get you another question later. BP 420. Eli Manning is going to get into the Hall of Fame solely because his team carried him to 2 rings. Change my mind. What do you think about that one, Duncan?
Ooh, I actually think that's not a bad one. I know why people bring that one up, because it's the obvious one where it's like the accomplishments on paper would get you in, but should you get in from the actual like eye test? Because obviously the problem with Eli Manning was he's like a perfect example of why like winning a ring, even though he was actually very good in those rings, doesn't necessarily make you a great player, because he was just mad streaky. And obviously like when he was at his peak, he could be good. Like he was certainly above average at many years. Even years I thought he was pretty good and had just a shit O-line. But he obviously also was just a motherfucker. Like, he was just like some shit Brett Favre that would just throw a million fucking interceptions and throw the whole game for you. So I have to say, if we're going off eye test, I don't think he should be in the Hall of Fame. But I also actually suspect he won't get in as much as like, I know the NFL Hall of Fame especially is one of the harshest. Like, there's some very fucking good, like, running backs, for example, who never got in. And you've seen when they made when they made Randy Moss and Terrell Owen wait years to go in. It's like, motherfucker, they're on some other shit. So I know the fact that he's, like, from the royal family of fucking football might get him in. But I personally think he's, like, a borderline case. I wouldn't put him. I don't think he actually should go in. Because I think it's about your career, you know, not just, like, what you did in those 2 years.
He's gonna get in eventually. But, yeah, probably. I mean, look, there's no doubt, like, on the seasons where he got the Super Bowl, like those were essentially the best teams the Giants had in like fucking forever. And so he was never a quarterback that made a bad team tick. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. He wasn't going to carry some motherfucking shit team to the playoffs.
Yeah,
but
this ain't like you know, Brady played in all different types of fucking Patriots teams. Yeah. Just done it with Tampa Bay, obviously. You know, like that's when you're on some shit. When the Giants were bad, Manning couldn't pull them out.
But this way, aside from the rings, he was never even in that discussion of like fucking Brady, his brother, fucking Drew Brees, everyone. He was never even in that conversation. It was only the rings that put him there.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, which you know, like you say, accomplishments have to be a valid part of the discussion. But is he a Hall of Fame? I don't even know where he ranks. Like total yardage is like what 57,000. So.
He's got some pretty good like stats, but that's also because he played a lot of years, and obviously like that's a position where like you go back in history and people didn't play as many years, you know. So I think he did play sort of like 15 years, which was pretty good. So like he'll have some decent stats in terms of the one. But I will say as well, I think in terms of like games won, he's at like 50-50. I don't go off that entirely, but I know people consider that. Yeah, definitely threw a lot of fucking interceptions, etc.
I'm just looking at the pass leaders, which isn't a great stat by the way in terms of like who should be the great.
I'm sure he's top 10.
Yeah, he's 8th overall. I mean, you know, when you consider Matt Ryan's fucking 9th, I don't know, again, I don't know how much it is. And fucking Big Ben's above him at 7th. Yeah, I don't know, man. He's not, I think I could agree with you, BP. I think for me, it's like just one of those things because he's in that royal family. It's like eventually, you know, all of Bret Hart's family, you know, get recognized in the Wrestling Hall of Fame, and you just keep filtering down long enough. But yeah, definitely you got to give mad plaudits to the teams that sort of won those rings overall. Very much a team effort at the Giants. I never saw Manning do anything that made me think he was like an individual standout QB that could win you a game by himself. I don't even know what his record is overall. He might even have does he have a losing career record?
No, I believe he has like almost an even one. I think he's won as many games as he's lost to something. And also I'll say as well, like especially that first Giants team, mate, that fucking defense was unreal.
Yeah, exactly.
They were monsters, yeah.
And you know how it is, man. I mean, like for a long time, people have said it's defense that wins you, Super Bowl.
Agreed.
So been that way, you know, ever since the legendary Bears lineup, right? So anyway, whatever. He also says, shout out to Riot for banning the use of "but" in usernames, but still allowing "ass." That's good to know.
It's a sort of arbitrary, stupid rule they would do, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's got Riot written all over it. Jerky's Minion, if you would have to lose your hand.
Come on.
brilliant. Great start.
Problem is, though, already, listen, I'm not even stopping. I'm not getting discouraged there. You could get some fucking sick hook or something. All sorts of shit you could go for. Yeah, let's go. Cyberpunk.
There's a key part to it. He says, if you had to lose your hand, how would you want to lose it? Your options are a shark tears it off while you go surfing, a crocodile death rolls it off while you're out fishing, or it gets crunched off by a hippo while you feed it a watermelon. Apparently, you don't. Shark's teeth is so sharp, apparently you don't even feel it. That's what they say.
All right, fucking hell, that's not that bad. All right.
Yeah, no, apparently it is just meant to be like it's off, like with your leg and that, like your leg's off, you know. So,
crocodile roll's gonna fuck you up in other ways.
Mate, well,
no, but shoulder out of socket, it's gonna fuck your life up. Like,
this is the thing, right? It's true with crocodiles, right? All of their force is in the down. You can lock their snout with like a rubber band.
Yeah.
And they can't open it.
Right, they're not as strong at opening.
So that's why they do the death roll, because they, they have to like proper rend the fucking food using all of their body weight. That's why they do it. It's not because it's because their mouth's like not particularly strong on the on the come up. So generating the force is the problem. So yeah, I'd definitely take the shot. I'm not taking a fucking hippo either. I have nightmares about hippos because I read in a newspaper one time.
Supposed to be like dangerous or whatever, aren't they? Yeah.
Well, mate, they're always kicking off. But no, what gave me nightmares about hippos was there was this circus and there was like a dwarf on a trampoline, apparently.
I already know this is going to go bad. The dwarf is already fucked in this story. I can tell his head's coming straight off or something.
No, but why is there a dwarf on a trampoline? What's happened?
Because it's a circus.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, what are you going to the circus for?
How many other scenarios?
It was in the newspaper, a dwarf on a trampoline has been eaten by hippos.
It wasn't Warwick Davis,
How many scenarios would there be a hippo and a dwarf on a trampoline in the same building? Like, it's not DreamHack. So anyway, well, I don't even know what that means.
Back when Huck used to go for StarCraft, I know whatever. I even like it.
So anyway, he was bouncing down the trampoline and he like lost his fucking way with it, and apparently like he fucking fell into the hippo's mouth. Hippo just swallowed him. He's just gone. Like he's dead. Like it's one of them 40 times like horrible death stories. So I was like, if a hippo can just gobble down a door, oh, fuck that, mate. They're out of control. That's bad. Like, Carve. What is more set in stone? COD pros not understanding how Twitter banter works, or Jordan Kaplan when he was imprisoned by a mage in an enchanted rock on Easter Island?
By the way, believe it or not, that is actually the line when I knew that they had no idea what humor was. Yeah. Look, obviously, all jokes, especially, by the way, if you write them in text, you don't deliver them even with timing and charisma. Every joke can fall flat and definitely not find its audience. But the idea that they didn't even get where I was coming from on that one, like, that's just like a quick fire free association. Look at the guy's fucking head. He looks like some Easter Island cunt. Like, it's not exactly a fucking hard. And I didn't have to sit around for hours with a writing room to figure that one out, did I? It was 1 second or so. Like, yeah, I thought it was ridiculous, the idea they wouldn't even credit that as an actual funny joke. Like, come on, mate. He's an ugly cunt, isn't he? I've never been to school. Yeah, school was a nightmare for that motherfucker.
Any news on the Red Eye album? I mean, listen, I'd have to get Paul back in the game. Like, I haven't talked to him in ages. I think it's time for the comeback. It's silly he's been sitting on the sidelines all this time.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, it's time now. Gaming poll, DK. What was or is the biggest missed opportunity esports game across the years?
Game? Ooh.
Yeah. There's a couple of good shouts here.
I have one that's like always comes to my mind.
What's
and
that?
It's a bit of an obscure reference, but if you know the game and the scene, I know UK people might appreciate, which is actually Return to Castle Wolfenstein Enemy Territory. Because if people don't know, Enemy Territory and Return to Castle Wolfenstein was like a team-based FPS using the Quake 3 engine. So if you know that engine is amazing. Like everything feels fluid and smooth and every bullet hits. The registration's really good, a classic problem in Counterstrike. All feels super beautiful, right? And the problem it had was Enemy Territory itself as well was free to play. You could just download it. It wasn't. This actually ahead of its time. Unfortunately, though, the game mode, because it's a little bit more complicated, like, it's like you have to do the fucking papers and do a radio thing and whatnot. It's slightly more complicated than Counterstrike. It didn't fully take off, but that's where people like fucking your boy Tosspot and all those guys. They were super deep in that game for a while, and it was a game that actually, like, when I played it a little bit, it was a pretty good game actually. So I always thought that was one of those ones where if it had the casual viewer base, like, it actually looked like it had the depth and the engine as a game to be a very good game. And it, for some reason, it just had its period as like a fringe esport. I'm going to say like end of the 2000s or something, early 2010s, and it just never really went far beyond that. And I always thought that was one of those games where it's like, it shows why esports are essentially artificial, because the problem is the game dev just didn't put millions and millions behind it when other people did. So you just can't be a big esport if you don't do that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think, like, you want to talk about squandered potential. I mean, like, I've got real worries now that Rocket League's over at Epic, that it's not going to, you know, it's going to plateau out. I think Rocket League's like a super obvious one. Like, that's
hasn't it already been out for quite a few years though? Like, I feel like surely it should have done it by now.
Yeah, but like, still, up until that point, it was still growing in terms of viewership. Each time the World Championship came around, it got better and better, better and better and bigger. And weird decisions they made with some of the talent and stuff as well. Like, some really good guys, like Lawler, didn't get picked up for the last championship and stuff. And it's like, it's kind of weird. So that I always thought Rainbow Six could have been something that could have really, like, given, you know, CS a bit of a run for its money, but it never quite seemed to get there. And obviously the biggest squandering of all time is, like, you tell everyone you're going to put $100 million in a fortnight, dine out on the headlines for 2 years, and actually have done fuck all, built fuck all.
It's mad, isn't it?
And no one even talks about that game anymore, hardly. It's like TSM just got rid of their Fortnite division, in fact. Crazy,
Put it this way, think of all the people, even previously respected people in esports, who dined out on the rise of Fortnite as some, like, this is the game that we're going to use as the gateway to bring everyone in. They don't say a fucking word about the fact that it's just like a non-existent game now. And like, even the people who streamed in that game are constantly with one eye on another game. Is there another game coming up? Is there something else I can stream? Can I go do something else? Can I open fucking Pokemon cards instead of play the actual game? Like, that's not a story. That's how you know esports has an aspect where it's like fucking crypto. There's just a bunch of grifters who are here to just ceaselessly sell the up and never mention the dip, essentially.
Yeah, of course. That is esports, actually, I would go as far as to say. So Reykjavik on Steam, which esport has the better banter game? Is it Valorant, Overwatch League, or COD?
Ooh, between those three, that's a hard one.
Yeah. Because
I have to say, like, I know for some reason, I'm not sure why people would say Valorant was such a big game for that. Like, maybe I've missed something, but I do know, like, that at least the Europeans, like, put it this way, if you don't know, a load of the European players who were good are all, like, UKCS players. So I will say, I don't know how good the banter is, but they do seem to shit talk. So I can see where there's obviously some spiciness there. And it seems like the G2 people have, like, sort of taken the team ethos of, you know, you shit talk the others, etc. Overwatch is actually not bad, but the problem Overwatch has is Blizzard literally has your balls in a fucking chastity belt, don't they? Like, you're not allowed to play. So we all know if you post a Pepe the Frog or like a tweet of a Pepe the Frog, or say the reason you like to use Instagram is to look at pictures of attractive women, that you are, like, fucking verboten. So I don't feel like it's possible to trash talk in that game. And then COD, like I say, mate, I was so underwhelmed by that, because I'd heard all these years of people telling me, oh, they love trash talk, they're so spicy, people are going at each other's heads, motherfucker. And then I just had people, essentially, literally, I'm not joking, the responses from top COD pros and influencers were like the same 12-year-old kid going, oof, big oof. And I was sitting there going, when do the jokes kick in? Like, do they come at any moment? Like, either they had nothing in the silos, or, you know, that is just their idea of humor. So between the three, I'm going to guess maybe Valorant. Feels like Valorant might be it. I don't know.
It can't be, because, I mean, like, I'll tell you why it's COD. Like, first up, I'll sort of give you a bit of a perspective on why it was a disappointing experience when you interacted with him. First of all, like, just out and out, JCap is a moron. Like, he's just
fair enough.
He's just some atavistic throwback. You can't really do anything about that. He's just a moron. You know, whatever. Common or garden, nothing exceptional. Just shoots heads in COD a little bit. But the reason so many of them were having a problem with it is they didn't understand that you were bantering them for the sake of bantering them. They couldn't see the angle. They couldn't see the upside. That's why a lot of them immediately went to, well, he's harvesting engagement. Like those cunts do all of the time, every day, as if it's a bad thing when that's their entire game. But the That was all it was. They couldn't understand why you were doing it. It's not that they didn't understand what you were saying or what you were doing. It's that if it had been in a framework they were used to, i.e., your team is bad team, our team is good team in the eyes of fans. Let's banter at each other on social media, then go on each other's podcasts and sell jerseys and driving.
It's so cynical, isn't it? I know.
Yeah, all of that makes sense to COD. But what doesn't make sense is a guy from a different game coming out of nowhere, just basically fucking insulting a bunch of people and telling jokes. It's like, what if there's no angle for you to do it except your own enjoyment?
I see what you mean, right?
You with me?
Yes.
It's not like they didn't get the banter. It's that they were just confused as to why it was happening, and as a result of that, couldn't see why it might be a good idea for them to engage with it with a bit of humor and class, and maybe get some good burns back, and maybe do a crossover bit of content or something. Because you're not from that world, they don't understand why you would be doing it. So I think in general, those guys are actually good at banter. Like, not all of them, as I said. But it was just that because it came out of left field for them. And I honestly think some of them were genuinely fucking upset with Hastro for reasons I don't understand. I think Hastro's just outstayed his welcome a little bit in that crowd, and he has become, like I say, a bit of an insufferable narcissist swanning around in a Dallas fuel top, talking like he's made it when it's just all other people's money. But whereas at least 100 Thieves, yeah, they might be an apparel company, but it's theirs. It's a genuine revenue stream that they've made. So yeah, that was just a bit of a weird one. Like I said, I didn't get involved with it. I got friends on obviously both sides of the equation, but JCap made a right cunt of himself. And I thought a bunch of them embarrassed themselves with how they handled it, and it was like they could have just thrown a few like good jabs back at you, and then why can't you go on that podcast and talk about the Hastro stuff and the current
stuff? Smart enough, are they?
Yeah, why not just do that? Maybe open up your audience, considering how many people play Call of Duty, to how many people watch Call of Duty Esports. The difference is insane. You haven't got a great conversion rate over there, but it's not what they understand. So that's what you got. So for me, I'd still say COD. Barkin. If you were to play roulette, what number would you bet on?
I don't really have a lucky number, and roulette's never been my game, so I have no idea for that. How high does it even go in roulette? What's
35, 0 to 30? No, 36, 35. I think. 36.
Well, the problem with that is I'm now 38, Anna, so I can't even bet my own bloody 37-year-old man. 37-year-old man saying stuff on the internet. Like, it's the way that was like a real angle that they were going with. He got me, got him.
Hector, look at him.
I know. By the way, it's the way they never took that as like a massive, obvious example as well, Richard. So everyone else in the scene was coming in on me, right? And they all kept saying, can't wait till Hex wakes up. He's going to lay the smack down on this bitch. Do you imagine for a second I was even sweating? No, because guess what? Unlike your clowns, because of Hex's background and who he is as a man and where he comes from, he understands the concept of loyalty and being a fucking G, mate. He isn't just going to sell everyone out for some stupid likes. So try your hardest on that one. I was straight roasting motherfuckers in his org. He still didn't say shit. So maybe understand. He knows the way the fucking game's played, mate. So I don't know what number for that one. I'm picking a random one. I don't know. 18, the year that it all went wrong for Smooya. There you go. I don't fucking know.
I don't know either. Roulette's just such a silly game. I just don't even play it.
It's fun though because you get big returns, mate. That's the idea of roulette. Because it's 35 to 1, so you see big cash, big piles of money. That's the idea.
If you win,
fun. Yeah, obviously.
That's sort of like me versus Call of Duty, 35 to 1. But you know what? The one can win big if he knows what he's doing.
It's true. So what would you play, Sam? What would you put? You got a number?
I play like a load of numbers. I'll just pick one. 27. 27.
Is there a reason why? Because everyone died, all those musicians?
No. Yeah. Actually, that is a good point. I can use that from now on. But no, I play like 10 bets on roulette. Like I said, it's like 8 brain, mate. You see all the money coming in. It looks like you're winning loads, even though you bet in half of it each time.
What you should start doing is incorporating some of that sort of like bingo swag. Like start saying something as you're putting the money down, like shotgun to the head, Kurt Cobain, 27.
Lost it all.
Yeah,
lost it all. Lost it all.
In the end, it was love that killed the beast. Kurt Cobain.
That's a good reference. I appreciate that one.
Shut up.
Soaked in Bleach, great documentary. Elon, assuming Kirby could join any top team, what team would he improve the most?
I don't know. Who gives a fuck? Why do people, right? So I live in a world, let me just check a second, temperature check of the scene. So y'all don't want any time for a second in your lives to watch Oscar play the game again. By the way, he's Merc in tier 2 right now. You don't ever want to see Guardian play again, because how could Guardian ever be good at Counterstrike again, right? After daring to be bad for a couple of months and then go away and, as far as I know, do nothing. So maybe he's been practicing, he comes back. How could any of the great players ever come back to be good again? But let's continue to ceaselessly talk about Kirby like he's always one step from being a fucking god. The guy was nothing. He had one fucking year where he was a decent player. Then he had like half a year where he was like, a pretty good player. And then that's about it. Like, it's not even like he had some massive career. He had like a year and a half of relevance realistically. And then a year before that where he was like a could be. And a year afterwards where he just was washed. Like, I don't know what people keep saying. Like, why do people double, triple down? I will say it's because he actually he does actually come off pretty well on social media. And he seems like he's got a fairly humble attitude. He doesn't seem like an arsehole as a young guy. But for me, it's like, it's been and gone on that one, Like, I don't know why people want him in top teams at this point. So I would just say no top team, really. I don't really know what team I want to see him playing.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, I've never been sort of as, like, I thought he was kind of getting there in phase. I think Nico fucked him over a little bit. He was terrible at the start, but he did work hard, and he looked like some semblance of a half-decent player at the end. I just don't know where you would fit him in. I think a Danish shuffle's probably incoming at some point this year. There's MSL out there as well. Something could happen.
I tell you what, I'd put him on Astralis as the 7th man. There you go.
Yeah, all right. He would improve.
Joke's on you.
So, anyway, Benedict asks, if someone went into a coma at the beginning... if someone went into a coma last year and only woke up in time for this episode, what would you say to catch him up on the state of Counter-Strike? Fucking hell. I mean, I don't even know what to tell you. I'm sick of like people looking at the viewership and thinking that's the panacea, that everything's all right. We got a real rival for the first time. We've lost all the NA marketing budget. We're not making penetration into the Asian market to the same degree we should be. Valve are asleep at the fucking wheel. Player experience at the moment is absolutely terrible because they keep stalling on fucking this, Valve anti-cheat AI that apparently is going to fix all of the problems. That seems to be taking forever. There's been a weird thing going on with Overwatch lately as well. I don't know, man. It's like, I feel that we could be staring for the first time beginning of the end until the next version at least. I get a lot of strong StarCraft and Source vibes, so I guess I'd say that. Watch Doge. Richard and Thorin, are either of you excited about this new super follower feature on Twitter where people can pay for access to blue check shitty takes about the news of the day? I'm sure you're going to monetize this here. You're going to give
basically. I was thinking that might be a way that all these idiots who go, I'm a huge fan of yours, but I just can't stop liking all the tweets saying you're a piece of shit who should never work in esports. How can I follow your Twitter? Yeah. We might have just found the solution there, boys. You pay to show that you're a cretin who was willing to pay me money, and I'll just turn a blind eye to you being a cretin as those doubloons just trickle down into my fucking sack, whatever. I don't fucking know.
Doubloons. Classic doubloons. Right, and then the last question. This is from Airama. I finally decided to give the majority of my working class wages to you elitists to show my appreciation for your despicable content. Please think of my hunger while your personal chef serves you caviar. If you could banter only one of these from this point forward, who would you choose? So if you could banter with one of these personalities, Moses, Anders, Pimp, Vince, or Dust.
Right, the problem with that is, like, let's be real, because he's given us a nice selection there. Right, yeah. Dust has to go off the list immediately because he's just the easy target anyway. Like that one, that's easy pickings.
He is thick though.
Damn that ass! Like that was so unreasonable. That video was I know it's so unreasonable. Isn't it? I know, so unreasonable. I'm just sad that Robin Williams isn't alive to, in the same fashion as Popeye, just play the biopic of fucking Dust's life. It would have been amazing.
It would have been perfect.
That would have been the actor I would have picked. Exactly.
Yeah,
there you go.
Perfect.
That's the actor.
Missing.
Let me think. Who's good out of that list? Like, the problem is, I have to say the easy answer is probably like Anders, because of all the people on that list, Anders is the only one who never takes offense. He'll even play along with the joke, which, by the way, goes a fucking long way on a broadcast. People don't know this. Like, there's certain jokes you have to take the L on just to make the piece work, you know. But at the same time, he also has that perfect quality that his brain never stops producing utterly fucked takes, which will then necessitate more banter. Like, Anders really is not, like, he's not trolling with his persona, you know. Like, he hasn't, like, affected all those weird aspects. He's like, you know, like when he does those tweets every now and then, like, does anyone know anything about silver mines in Africa? Like, he's not trolling. Like, he actually wants to know today about silver mines in Africa. Yeah. He hopes someone can give him the fast track. Like, he is one of the most ridiculous humans ever. So I'd have to go with Anders. He's the one I'd want to banter forever.
Yeah.
And will.
You know, because it's like the problem is like I agree. It's not even that I enjoy bantering with Dust. I think he takes it pretty well. I mean, like, he came on a broadcast, Duncan, when he was ravaged with COVID and he was super sick, and he came on for the fucking No Majors Club we were doing, and he was coughing his fucking lungs up, and I just went, "Will you fucking die quietly?" in that, and it was just like, you know. That everyone was buckled in that, but obviously he has got a bad disease and he is sick and he is giving up his time to come and do the broadcast of that.
When you were doing, wasn't it when you were doing the actual election night and Dust just kept coming on going, I'm drunk.
He said he wasn't drunk.
And you were all like,
wasn't
straight to bed, Dust, straight to bed right now. It's like he was trying to gamble with zero upside just his whole career. Just like, well, you know.
Yeah. Get to bed, Dust. Go to bed, you're drunk. I'm not drunk. Let me just type in Twitch chat 500 words about how I'm definitely not drunk. Was drunk. But anyway, no. So it's like, I really like Dust, and it breaks my fucking heart how many people treat him like shit. It's not fair. So it's like when you talk about bantering with him and that, it's like, he knows with me it comes from a place of love. We've toughened him up, you know, but like, yeah, enough's enough. Same with Vince in a way. I always feel terrible about how mad the No Majors Club went. There's no way.
Because the problem is the memes that take on a life of their own. Like, the problem with those memes, mate, is they're too funny. Like, I know that you didn't actually try to retire, but that meme is literally better than most memes in the community. So it will live on. I'm sorry, mimetically, it's just too powerful.
Yeah, but then there was the retirement. Then there was all that stuff where it was just, you know, the scat jokes about him being a fucking. And
when that's not even the only thing on the list, and of course there was the usual short list, eating scat all the time.
He had what should have been a bit of harmless banter gave Vince fucking PTSD. He literally, like, Sam will tell you, he was going, "You just don't understand. It went too far. I looked at my Twitter and it was just pictures of people eating shit, you know." And it's like, it really disturbed him, I think. So you know, I like Vince and I like bantering with Vince. He's got a wicked sense of humor, but also I do worry that, like, he's seen too much now. He's stared into the abyss. Pimp. I'm just saying this. I know you've been watching, bro. I know you're in the chat. He takes himself a bit too serious. Cause, you know, I'm just putting that out there, brother. Like, you know, because he used to be a serious ass motherfucker back in the day. He didn't have a lot of sense of humor about him. When you called him a shit player or whatever, he didn't like that on a broadcast or whatever, you know. So he's got very serious. Like, he treats streaming as a business, as a profession. It's all very, you know, X amount of hours per day. I respect it, respect the grind, but yeah, not you know, he's a serious man now. So you're left with Anders and Jason, and I just feel after them green rooms, Jason's earned some peace.
Basically, the problem is this, right? Jason will go along with the joke, and most of the time he will be cool with it, but every now and then you will hurt his feelings. Whereas Anders is actually some sort of a masochist when it comes to that banter. Like, literally, he wants you to hurt his feelings. Yeah, like, he almost, hurt me more. Say more about me.
And his balls.
Exactly,
So yeah, Anders. So there you go. Those are the questions. Thanks to everyone who donated. It's been a super long episode. We had loads to catch up on. The next episode won't be as long. We've spoiled you fuckers today. I probably should unban that guy, shouldn't I? The 17 months. I'm thinking about it.
He's had a show to think about it. Yeah, he's had a show to think about it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll just edit it all out. But don't ever come correct, man. Fuck's sake. Fucking hell. Do you know what it's like?
Also, pick the hills to die on. You're gonna die on a hill of whether or not he went to Lazio, whether or not he could have gone to Lazio in like 2000. Give me a break. Like,
yeah, people.
It ain't worth it, is it? It ain't worth going out on that.
People start to correct people. I'll sort that out. I'll talk to the mods. We'll get him out of there. Fuck's movie. Right. Anyway, let's do one last shout out to the sponsors. Obviously, .com, love them. Go to twitch.com/RLS, sign up. They're the best. And obviously, as well, check out NordVPN. Get yourself a VPN, 70% off. Maybe you've been banned, in this chat, and you want to come in and apologize for not knowing your obscure potential signings in 90s Serie A, probably when you weren't even alive. More fool you. Get a VPN at 70% off. And obviously, a shout out to all of our patrons, the people that brought the show back from the dead. Our $100 patrons: Jerky's Minion, Benedict, Sarathenia, Cathal, Blacksmith, J-Dubs, Hannah Maru Alice, Tobias Bernasconi, Carv, and Marcus Kjumpa. Our $50 patrons: Airhammer, Norwegian Klemeyi, Barkin, Goody Woody, Gerhan Kaya, Lonnie, Fursock, Elon, Echo, Rez, Miss Alcoholic, BP420, Watch Doge, Reykjavik on Steam, Manuel Stockley, Benakagi, Alexi, and Sardzawar. Thanks to everyone as well who tuned in, donated, and subbed. We love you all. We'll see you next week with more By the Numbers, and until then, take care of yourself.